Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
Things. And there we go. And who else we got? The lovely Jenny is here. And we're caught up. Just like that, we're caught up. We got lots of time here, too, Guru. Yeah, where's the Guru? I better take him off mute there. There he is. See? There's the Guru. Gotta love that hat.
I'm here.
I know you're here. I'm pretty excited. Jose, how you doing, buddy? And, yeah. I tell you, Guru, I'm not under the weather, but I'm at that point where I may go under the weather. You know what I'm saying?
You're not 100%, and you kind of feel this ominous cloud about you. I do know exactly.
Yeah, I better take a little sniff of my Vicks here.
There you go.
And Ross Smith, how you doing, buddy? All right, we got 20 seconds. A great way to support what we do on this show is through the Super Chat. Be like Nicola. It really helps us out. And, of course, thank you to everyone who's new here. Hit subscribe. And don't forget to ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week for your lovely entertainment. Mama Susan, Sensational Sherry, how are you? And here we go, everyone. Horns up. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We are in for a good night tonight as the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is back. Ron's been investigating the stuff of nightmares for over 30 years. He has investigated things that go bump in the night and meticulously researched the historical and psychological context of myths and legends from around the world. The guru seeks to uncover the archetypical precedent for monsters and hauntings and collecting his thoughts of what is truly going on out there. You can find all of his books on Amazon, and we always love it when the guru is here. Mr. Guru, how you doing, buddy?
I would rather be no other place than right here in Space Out Radio Land with you, my friend, and all these great listeners here.
Absolutely. We really do appreciate you coming on in, bud. And I'm going to apologize right off the bat. Feeling a little bit under the weather. Mm-hmm. You know, I got a case of the sniffles going on. Mm-hmm. And I can feel it building up. So we're going to battle on through here, Guru. And thank you so much for joining us, buddy. You know, for somebody who's listening to us for the first time, let's learn a little bit about you, how you fell in love with the legends of monsters and folklore.
Absolutely, man. Okay, so, you know, this is the story that I tell. And I doubt, Dave, that you have any first-time listeners. I think that these guys have been with you since the very beginning. But I'll indulge you nonetheless. So, you know, as a kid, I was growing up here in Western Pennsylvania where not a lot of stuff happened. I grew up in a very small town called Blairsville that had, I think it had 2 streetlights at the time. Not a lot of stuff going on there until the mid-1970s. And what happened then in the 1970s is that there started to be sightings of Bigfoot in our area. It was so much of a news story that the local news from Pittsburgh actually would pick it up, and they would report upon this man-like creature that was seen in and around my little town. And as a kid, this was a big deal, because, big things happen in Pittsburgh. And now they were talking about my little one-horse town on TV. So my mother had a very keen interest in the paranormal, the cryptozoological, and she would listen to these reports, and then she would take my brother and I out, and we would go on the back roads of Western Pennsylvania, seeking out the spots where this creature was sighted. So it was a great time to be alive, and not only that, but not only going first person looking for these things, but this was also a time whenever In Search Of was on television, and That's Incredible and Unsolved Mysteries. So it was a great time to be a kid. It was a great time to be interested in the paranormal. And the other cool thing about it, too, is I went to a parochial school. St. Simon and Jude was the name of the school. It's no longer in existence anymore, unfortunately. But it had a very small library in the school. But I am convinced that one of the nuns there had to be a closet cryptozoologist or a paranormal investigator, because this little library that was chock full of, religious textbooks and such had a great section on the paranormal. Bigfoot, the abominable snowman. We had UFOs and all this other kind of stuff. It was a great time, to actually go to the library, pick up books in your hand and read them. So that's how I spent the majority of my youth. I was looking for Bigfoot in the woods that surrounded our little town. I was reading about Bigfoot. I was reading what Von Däniken had to say about ancient aliens. And, I was enamored by tales of the Loch Ness Monster. And it really stuck with me until I went to high school. And you might find this hard to believe, Dave, and I think that a lot of your listeners will find this hard to believe as well, too. But back in 1984, whenever I went to high school, chicks did not find guys that were interested in the paranormal attractive. I don't understand what was going on there. So I kind of went in a little bit, put the paranormal stuff in the back seat and focused on other things. And it was whenever I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and I was taking an anthropology course. And in one of my books that I bought at the bookstore that probably cost $120, written by two highly esteemed professors, there was a section in there about folklore and legends and how they could spread. And one of the writers of the book suggested that the legend of the Yeti may have come about from the existence of the Gigantopithecus up into historical times. And that was the first time in academia that I'd ever been confronted with the idea of a Bigfoot or a man-like beast as something that was acceptable to argue and to talk about. And it was as if Bigfoot himself came to the door of the classroom, opened it up, walked in and took the seat beside me, and kind of like looked at me and said, "Now what do you do with me?" So all this interest that I had as a kid now comes back to the surface, and now I'm starting to look at this great literature from around the world. Some of the first literature ever, the Epic of Gilgamesh, for instance, which was written even before the time of the construction of the Great Pyramids. We have within that tell the remnant of an oral tradition about man-covered beasts. There's two of them that are actually mentioned, and they dwell in the far-off places in the deep woods. And they usually don't have any kind of confrontation with human beings unless we infringe upon their territory, which was extremely interesting. And I use that kind of stuff even now as a researcher and investigator to point out that this world truly is one that is full of wonder and surprise. There's more things out there than meet the eye. And I like it like that. I like that there's still mysteries out there. And I like the idea that there's possibilities of monsters still lurking in the shadows, because that really puts us as humans in our place. that gives us a wake-up call that we don't know everything there is to know.
Wow, I mean, that's quite the experience. Now, you are somebody who loves the educational and historic and scientific side of whatever these creatures are. Yet, how do you blend that so beautifully with the legends and folklore that goes along with it?
Well, I think it's like connecting the dots. We're connecting dots that in some cases go back 14,000 years. I like to go back as far as I can go. And we can go back into the prehistoric record. We might not have any human beings actually giving us any kind of play-by-play commentary, but we can denote things that are happening from the archaeological records concerning burials, concerning cave art. And that is really when all this kind of stuff begins. I like to look at archetypes and to think that the idea of lake monsters have been with us since our infancy, and the idea of the wild man, and the idea of werewolves and vampires. It is a matter of connecting the dots and finding out that these creatures are so a part of our humanity that we would be very different if we did not have them in our collective closet, as it were. And that is really the reason why I want to approach it from an academic point of view. I go on a lot of expeditions. I go out a lot with people that are dressed in paramilitary gear, and they have the knives and they have the flashlights on their head, and they look like they're going out on a big game hunt. That's all fine and dandy. That's great. But at the end of the day, whenever we are bringing out evidence and we have to present it to the public at large that already is not believing, is already skeptical, I think I like my approach better than these guys that go out and say, well, I found a partial track here and I found, I heard a wood knock there. And not to say that that's not important, but I think that we have to bring in at least a modicum of mainstream academic field work, or none of this is going to make any sense in the long run. As I've said before, look, I like to be out in the woods. I like to do my investigations, but I find the gray matter of the mind just as fascinating. And I think whenever we go around and wonder in that section of our minds where these things dwell, it is as dangerous and as wild and unpredictable as the woods themselves.
Guru, you are somebody who loves to tell a good story. And, whether it's from legends that you have written about or have heard about over the years, do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite creature that you love to talk about or would love to know more about?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, so cryptozoologist is one of those things that is bandied about. Anybody can call themselves a cryptozoologist. I got started, of course, because of Bigfoot. That is always going to be my go-to. He's also almost like my alter ego. And I think Bigfoot, in a way, kind of encapsulates that. It looks like us, except it doesn't live by our rules. It lives outside of the mainstream. It is wild. It acts on instinct, except it still has intelligence. So it's kind of like everything that we wish that we could be. Sometimes I wish I was uncivilized. Sometimes I wish I didn't have to make a mortgage payment or pay the electric bill. And, that's what Bigfoot is. It's that man-like creature that says, I'm not going to live by your rules. So Bigfoot's always going to be my archetype that is going to keep me going well into my elderly years. But the Loch Ness Monster, look, that's something else that has always captured my imagination. And back in 1999, I actually got a chance to go on an expedition to Loch Ness. And it was like, kind of like coming home, kind of like being confronted with all this stuff you really imagined as a kid. So I think field work is very, very necessary. But all these creatures now, so we talk about Bigfoot, we talk a lot about lake monsters, but I'm also as enamored by things like werewolves and vampires because those things creep me out. And I really want to get to the bottom of why we still have to have the nightlight on because these kind of images keep on coming about from deep inside of us. And I really am interested in why that happens in the 21st century.
What makes a good story spooky?
Well, what makes a good story spooky is that it crosses cultures. To me, that is the fundamental element of a good story. That's the fundamental element of a nightmare. So whenever we talk about, whether it's an African culture or an Asian culture or the Western tradition, the things that I like to stir up and the things that I like to investigate is something that's going to be frightening on multiple levels. Ghosts are one thing. Ghosts are predominant. They're ubiquitous in human cultures. But so is ape men, these wild men characters. So is lake monsters. So I really am looking at things that all cultures around the world can immediately identify with, and it has that same fear to them as well, too.
Guru, as we go through the night, you're going to be telling us some weird, strange stories, spooky stories leading up to Halloween. What does Halloween mean to you?
Well, that's the show in and of itself, and I would love to talk about that given a few weeks. Halloween is kind of like the culmination of everything that we do. We are now able to lead, kind of like let our freak out during this time of the year, and nobody's going to bat an eye. We can talk about ghosts, we can talk about aliens, and we can talk about, Bigfoot and things that go bump in the night, and nobody will look at us odd. October is that 1 month where we get free reign to kind of express who we are and let our hair down, and nobody's going to question us. So that's really the way I look at this Halloween season. But again, Halloween, from the Celtic origin, which we have is Samhain, which means summer's end. It really is about the unexplained and, really about what may happen next. That's why we celebrate Halloween. It's that fear. We're bringing the fear to the surface, and this is the one time of the year that we can confront it. Now, in the 21st century, we have personified it with Jason Voorhees, and we've personified it with Mike Myers, and we've personified it with Freddy Krueger. And those characters don't make sense in Asian cultures or African cultures. Again, getting back to the idea that I'm looking for a cross-cultural thing. But what does make sense across the world is the idea of death, the unexpected, the unknown. And that's what makes for a good horror story, and that's what Halloween is all about. So when we talk about Halloween, it's not really an ancient holiday. It only goes back about 2,000 years. That might seem like a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that long. This was a Celtic world trying to comprehend what was going to happen after a very unpredictable winter, and they would light bonfires, trying to use sympathetic magic to coax the sun to stay a while. This was also a time whenever the animals were brought down to slaughter because now it will be cold enough for the meat to keep over the wintertime. And this was the last time when people would gather together for feasting until the spring. And the thing about Halloween is you can imagine, we're all gathered together, and this is probably going to be the last time we see a lot of our elderly neighbors or family members, and this was a time whenever you see a woman that was pregnant or a woman that had a newborn baby, this was a time of fear and what may happen to them. So Halloween really is a reflection on all of our fears wrapped up into one.
Do you really believe in the whole process of thinning of the veil? This is one of those things like Mercury retrograde that I think, really, it's my opinion, and I know a lot of friends and people who say there is happenstance to this, but to me, it really seems like story time a little bit too much.
Right. No, I do understand what you're talking about, especially whenever you're saying, oh my, I'm feeling depressed. Mercury must be in retrograde. I understand that completely. But what is so cool about Halloween that it's really based upon an agricultural system, right? It's based upon the time between solstices and equinoxes. This is one of those cross-quarter times. So it's interesting whenever Halloween is set, and then you look at holidays around the world as well. So this particular time is important the world over. And because it's important the world over, that leads me to believe that there's something more to it than just its agricultural importance, its agrarian importance. The idea that a veil is thinning between this life and next, that's a hard thing to explain, and it's also a hard thing to kind of justify as well, too. But if you would have went back 2,000 years ago, that would have been completely acceptable. And not only in Europe, but in other parts of the world as well, too. I am a romantic. You know this. I would love to say, Dave, you know what's going on. The reason why we celebrate Halloween when we do is because the ancients knew that that is whenever the veil between two worlds were the thinnest. I would love to be able to tell you that, but I can't. You know, from an academic point of view, I can't. From a scholarly point of view, I can't. I'm just telling you that around the world in this part of October, very strange things are said to happen, regardless of what culture you're looking at.
We got about 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is with us tonight. Guru, where are we going to start on the stories when we come back after the break? Give us a little hint.
A lot of times, you know, people don't realize that I actually do go out and investigate things. So I kind of would like to change my persona a little bit and talk about some of the investigations that I've actually been on.
Oh, it sounds creepy. Sounds absolutely creepy. Now, for you, I mean, as we get a little bit further into this show, do you get scared anymore, Ron?
Absolutely. You know what? I probably get scared more than most people. I hate to be alone. Whenever my kids are away, I still sleep with a nightlight on. These are fears that are deep-seated within me. And I write as a form of exercise.
Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Or as we like to call it, the can't have just one deal. Mix and match a sausage biscuit, sausage McGriddles, McChicken biscuit, chicken McGriddles, or crispy hash browns. Want 2 sausage biscuits? Buy one, get one for $1. Want a sausage biscuit and hash browns? That's cool too. Choose more of what you love. Buy one, get one for $1 at McDonald's. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
Fall is the season of gathering that brings us together with warmth and color. So whether it's a birthday, anniversary, or a special event, celebrate your friends and family with a gorgeous bouquet of roses from 1-800-Flowers.com. 1-800-Flowers makes it easy to brighten someone's day with 24 multicolored roses for just $39.99. To get 24 multicolored roses for just $39.99, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/tune-in. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/tune-in.
Am I supposed in a way? But whenever fears are exercised, something else comes in to take their place. So it's not like you're ever going to get away from it all. So I still have a fear of the dark. I still have a fear of the knocks and the bumps that you hear that are unexplained. And I think that's something that's going to stick with me forever.
Well, you got to love it. You got to love it. With 2 minutes to go here, do you recommend people get into this field?
Well, if you want to be ridiculed and scrutinized, yes, absolutely. If you like to have people backstab you all the time, absolutely. People stealing your information and stuff, yeah. Look, I say that if you have a passion for this, and it has to be a thorough passion, it has to be something that really keeps you going, I say absolutely, jump into it. But this is far different. What you do and what I do is far different than the people that come out during Halloween, or the people that watch ghost shows, or the people that buy an EMF meter and think that they're ghost hunters. This takes years to build some sort of repertoire in order to approach this subject from so many different facets. It's not just about looking for monsters or looking for ghosts. It's so much more than that. And if you have the patience to educate yourself, if you have the patience to endure all that kind of self-discipline that you need to do, then I would say go for it, absolutely. But I will tell you, it's a very thankless vocation and occupation.
Very true, but the one thing that you have to try and do is you have to try and stay above and well behind at the same time the group that you're in, whether it's the paranormal, whether it's a cryptid world or UFOs. Because I totally agree with you. If you're not ready for it, it is a real eye-opener, that's for sure. It's funny. I was telling our listeners the story just the other night of the gentleman you and I were trying to help out of Manitoba with the fairy photos that were very, very impressive. And we forewarned him about going into the field and just opening up to everybody, trying to get on everybody's podcast and showing off all the pictures. And within 4 months, he was gone.
Gone.
He was just.
We don't even know what happened to him. Look, I was a friend of his on a personal basis, and I've not heard anything from him whatsoever. I don't even know what happened to his well-being. I have no idea. But absolutely, Dave, he came onto your show first time ever he did a podcast.
Yeah, and it was. He just vanished. Maybe the fairies got him. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is going to share some spooky stories with us when we come back on the break, right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear.
All right, it's flying by, my friend, flying by.
I hope my voice makes it tonight.
Yeah, I feel bad for you, too, because I've been there, my friend. I've been there, but I don't have to do talk shows like you do either. Yeah. But I think that you'll be able to get through it.
Well, I got Vicks Vapor Rub on. I'll probably next break go upstairs and run and grab some Advil, cold and sinus.
Yeah, there you go.
So, oh, man, I could just feel it.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of throat clearing tonight.
That's good. That's okay.
That's all right. I stocked up on lozenges tonight. It's all good, man. We'll get her through.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be good.
Done this show feeling worse. Bonjour, Jean-Paul. How are you? And, let's see here. What show are you looking for, Fidgety Aura? Oh, with the fairies? Did we actually have him on the air, Ron? I don't think
we did. Yeah, we did. Remember, you had to physically call him up because he couldn't log onto his computer or something like that. This probably was 2016, is that right? 17? Yeah.
16?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Ghoul Mashi, how are you? Welcome back. Davey, nice to see you. And these photos, Mark, of the fairies were the best I've ever seen.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say.
They were either doctored, and this guy was a computer genius, or he had the real thing.
Right. So what he did, Dave, if you can remember, like you had said, he started to just go out there and show them to absolutely everybody. I mean, that's what the problem was. He would tell people where he was located, and he was giving these things out. And
yeah. No, keep talking. I'm just showing one of my guitars. Lester wanted to know about one of my guitars.
Oh, right. No, but that's truly what had happened was I don't think that he was trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. I think he really, truly had something, whatever it was. We don't know exactly what it was.
Well, he had the body, too.
Yeah, he did. He did.
He had the dead body of a fairy, too. Yep. And, literally, he all of a sudden just started opening his mouth everywhere, going in every cryptid chat room that he could on Facebook, any group, and showing his pictures, and he just got eaten alive. And I remember him talking to you and to me about it. And I'm not sure if it was you or me that actually said to him, "Hey, bud, we told you so. We told you this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And let us come up there and verify your story first, and then we'll all go out together." And he just couldn't do it.
Yeah, that was the truth. Now that I'm thinking about that, that was the game plan, that you and I were going to physically meet him and find out exactly what he had. And then I think that by that time, he had opened up far too many doors. And he was just, like you said, he was being trounced as a charlatan on one side, and the other people were kind of using him as a pawn to get whatever they wanted at the end of the day as well, too.
That's very right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Gorgeous Deanna, how are you? Welcome. I want to say a big thank you to Brian, Carla, Reverend Keith, who I haven't seen in a while. Good to have you here. Swampy and Nicola for the amazing Super Chats tonight. The Super Chats are a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you guys so much for your love of this show. Lester, are you this one right here? That is an Italian model. It's called an Aerci. It's a Les Paul knockoff. I can't afford a real Les Paul right now. Soon, though. Alex Kuhn, good to see you back. Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got gnomes at your place. Vintage Beard, where have you been hiding, man? Holy cow. Haven't seen you in a couple months. So glad to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And let's see. Who else do we got here? Who else has come on in? And, we're good right now. We're good right now. And we got about 45 seconds.
Boss Monster's cracking me up, man.
Oh, he's hilarious. I believe he works for an airline. And apparently a bunch of them listen to the show, according to him.
Very cool.
Vintage Beard, I'm glad. Glad to have you back. Horror Realm, where have you been? All the names I haven't seen in a while are coming out tonight. Wow, this is awesome. Horror Realm's here.
There's my brother David Murphy in the house.
Well, look at it. Look at that. It's little Davy Murphy right there.
Little Davy Murphy, who's 2 years younger than I am. Little Davy Murphy in the house. Actually, one of the stories I'm going to share is going to be about him.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is back as we are talking spooky stories leading up to Halloween in just a couple of weeks. I know you like them. We like them too, and we love the guru around here. You can follow him on Twitter at Crypto Guru Ron. And, of course, all of his books can be found on Amazon. Guru, welcome back.
Hey, thanks a lot. Again, time flying. It's as if it does not exist in the actual real realm here at Spaced Out Radio. It's on its different continuum.
Oh, I know, buddy. It's been like that ever since we've had you on. Geez, going on 7 years, man.
7 years.
Almost 7 years.
Yep.
It's been incredible. What a run. And to watch you grow, good, buddy, as an author in this field has been incredible. Mm-hmm. You know, we even got your brother in the chat room tonight on YouTube, little Davy Murphy.
Little Davy Murphy, and I'm glad because he's making a trip to, I believe he's going to Tampa Bay tomorrow. So he's actually staying on here. I think that his lovely wife, Sarah, is probably on with him as well, too.
Very nice.
But one of the stories I have to tell you tonight involves little Davy Murphy.
Well, I want to tell you a story first here, Guru.
Sure, go ahead.
Because you're a man of wisdom and of aged beauty, not unlike myself here.
Exactly.
You know, brother. But this past week has been very difficult for me. Very difficult. You know what's been happening? My audience has been absolutely tearing me apart because of my dislike for eating breakfast for dinner.
Oh, my goodness.
Help me out here, man.
Look, I don't know how to tell you this, Dave. This is painful for me to tell you. So I had some things to do today, and I was not home in time to get my children's supper. So my oldest daughter ordered breakfast for dinner for the children.
No.
Yeah.
I hope you grounded her.
I did. Oh, absolutely. Well, she doesn't live with me. She's the one that has the baby. But no, she came over and she thought that she was doing a good job. Look, it kind of chokes me up a little bit, but my kids liked it.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to have to take some time to work through this. It just really hurts me, as a dad, you try to instill in them everything that you hold dear. And the little bastards liked it.
That's terrible. Ron, I'm actually tearing up.
That's why I am. Me too.
Tearing up a little bit.
Think about how I felt as a dad coming through that door and seeing my 8-year-old son with a pancake in his hand.
That's terrible.
I'm telling you.
Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, so that's what I'm dealing with tonight, Dave.
I honestly, Ron, you're probably going to have to ground your children for about a year and a half here.
No television, and that's the only way I can do it right now. There's no television, and now there's no eggs or bread allowed in the house.
Good. Yeah. I'm sorry for you, buddy.
This is one of those things whenever, like I said, whenever a dad tries his best, then all of a sudden, it goes downhill like that.
I know. We might as well just end the show.
Yeah, I think that might be a good time.
There's just no point now. No point.
Yeah. And it was like they had pancakes. Well, around here there's a restaurant called a Denny's restaurant. And they have something there called the Grand Slam, which is eggs, bacon or sausage, a hash brown, and pancakes. And they had each a Grand Slam. I know.
Dim to Dim, welcome to our chat room. Says, my wife loves breakfast for dinner. I dislike it and think it's lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
I think it's...
you can come join the anti-breakfast for dinner crowd, Dim to Dim. You can totally do that. We would appreciate that. Hey, Guru, let's get into some story time because I'm getting depressed here.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too.
What do you got for us right off the bat with one of your investigations?
I will tell you my earliest investigation that I've ever done as an adult. How does that sound? This involves my brother, little Davey Murphy. And this involves before I became involved in the paranormal. This is whenever the paranormal actually came looking for me. I think that's a good tagline. So I was in graduate school up at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, which is a little bit northeast of Pittsburgh, about 70 miles away from Pittsburgh. And it's a very rural area. Lots of woods, not a lot of stuff to do there. If the university wasn't there, there would probably be no town. So my brother and I were living there on the corner of where I guess civilization meets the woods. Behind us was these woods that was owned by the university, and there was no hunting there or anything. It was a very protected land. So we were kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We were like the last house until, it was all woods. So we moved into this place. And almost immediately, the first summer, we would hear this whistling sound. It always happened between the hours of 12 and 3 a.m., same as Spaced Out Radio, as a matter of fact, here on the East Coast. But it only happened whenever the weather was right condition. There would be no rain or anything like that. But between 12 and 3, we would hear this loud whoop sound. The first year, we really didn't think much about it. We thought it might be birds or something like that. The second year, it starts coming a little bit more bolder, if you will. The whistling is a lot louder. The whooping is a lot louder. And it seems as if, for some reason, it is targeting our property. if that makes any sense. So my brother and I mean, at this point, I'm in my mid-20s. So my brother will be in his early 20s right about that time. So we were athletic. We were playing sports and stuff like that at the time. And we thought, hey, look, we're going to go out and investigate this. And sure enough, it was probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. We hear this whoop, whoop sound. And my brother grabbed a baseball bat, and I grabbed a sword because, of course, you have to have a sword involved in one of these stories. And we opened out the door. And this was the first time that we had ever stepped outside whenever this sound was going on. And it was shocking because when we went outside, it was not only permeating the air around us, you could actually feel it within your body as if it was, now looking back on it, we can say it was called infrasound or whatever, but there was something out there that was whistling that was able to produce a vibration within our body. So we soldiered on, however. Again, 20-year-old kids with weapons. What more can you ask for? So behind our house was a grove of trees that led to the bigger woods. So we got to this little grove of trees, and we kind of came to a standstill at the same time. And I'm not sure exactly why, but the whistling was intense. We knew whatever this thing was right in front of us. We couldn't see it because it was pitch black outside, but whatever this was within yards from us. The whistling was still continuing, the whoop, whoop, like that. But now the thing starts growling at us. There were two sounds being produced by this creature at one time. So the whistling and the whooping continued as well as the growling. And not only was it just a regular growl, we were so close that we could actually hear it taking air into itself to produce the growl. And it was a very wet sound. So this was a large creature that was in front of us. So what anybody in the right mind would do is we immediately ran back to our house. I wasn't going to go any further. I have no idea to that day what was in front of us. But from that moment on, that is whenever I decided that I would start investigating the paranormal. That is whenever I went to the internet and I put Bigfoot in Pennsylvania, and one website came up, and that was the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society, ran by Eric Altman. And that's how I became friends with Eric Altman. And that story right there is what led me to become an investigator. That was actually Eric Altman's first investigation as a Bigfoot investigator.
Very cool. So did you ever get close to this creature?
It never came back. After this, it never returned. I would say, and again, like I said, my brother's on, so he could text or he could tap in. Or I would say we were probably maybe 30 yards away from it, something like that. From like home plate to first base in baseball. I would say about 90 to 100 feet away, because it was so close that we could actually not only feel this vibration, but we could actually hear it taking in air. So we were that close. Now, what was interesting is that we had very sparse neighbors. There wasn't a lot of neighbors around. But I did ask one lady who lived down from us. I said, hey, have you ever heard anything strange at night? She goes, you hear a lot of strange things around here. Now, she had lived there her whole life, and we were just interlopers that have been there for, a little over a year and a half. And she said, you hear a lot of strange things. As she was tilling her garden with a little hand shovel, and then whenever I started to walk away, she looked up and she said, "I will tell you one story, however, that there was a man going through our garbage one night, and when we opened up the door, it ran back into the woods." So those kind of stories, the idea when people are skeptical and they see something or they hear something, and they try to work it within their own schematic of what is possible, what's not possible. But that story right there was the impetus that got me started, because I could not figure out, even though I had a love for the paranormal all my life, that was something that I could not explain away. Now, what I find hard to believe, and the same thing with you as well, too, we're into this, but we also have experienced this.
Life can be overwhelming, but help is here. Gulfport Behavioral Health System is your treatment provider for mental and behavioral health issues. For nearly 40 years, we've helped adults, adolescents, and children as young as 4 find the coping skills to get back on track. We're here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Hope starts here. Visit gulfportbehavioral.com to learn more. With limited exceptions, physicians are not employees or agents of this hospital.
Bad internet is bad for business. We've all been there. Lagging video chats, slow downloads.
Oh, come on.
It's just not a good look. Instead, call C Spire Business. Our local experts deliver gigabit speeds backed by thousands of miles of fiber for the fastest, most reliable internet around. Period. No excuses, no apologies. Just fiber-fast internet that works. C Spire Business. See how our fiber solutions can help power your success at cspirebusiness.com.
As well, too. Now, one of my things regarding paranormal activity is, do we go after it because we experience it, or does it want us to experience it? If that makes any sense. Like, are we chosen to be the ones that these things come out to? You know, almost as if there has to be a circuit, some sort of agreement, an unspoken agreement between you and whatever else is out there, that we have to submit to the encounter for this kind of stuff to happen. I don't know how to explain it. You know, it's just interesting that somebody that had grown up interested in this stuff now has a visitation by something that cannot be explained.
The crypto guru Ronald Murphy is here tonight. Ron, when you're out on an investigation, you know, whether it's this first one you went on, I mean, carrying a sword, man, that is just bad. That is just big time badass for you, man.
It really is.
I hope you went out, you know, with no shirt on, you know, your hairy chest, you know, going to chase down this creature, your pants rolled up to halfway up the shin. Yeah. You know, I hope so.
Well, back then I had a mullet. You know, I had like a great hockey mullet.
Beautiful. That's what we need to hear.
Yep, you can imagine whenever I went out into that July breeze that it was blowing. You know, I probably looked like Aslan from The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe. It was like a mane of hair around me.
Beautiful.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think that I did not have a shirt on, and you know the moon was just glistening off of my chest.
This is getting better.
Yeah, it's as badass as you can imagine.
That is just wonderful.
Yeah.
You know what, bud? I can honestly say I know you're not a BSer either. So I'm actually imagining this to be true right now.
Yes, that's right. At one time, I was in good shape. If you can, like, if we would go back to the 1990s, I was. Well, we didn't have to talk about the perm there, but no, it was a great mullet, though. It really, really was. And it was just that was probably the most kick-ass moment I've ever had in my life.
I got to tell you, I mean, the fact that Bigfoot saw your permed mullet, you know, right. I think you need to bring it back.
Yeah, and he never came back either. Can you imagine that? Like, he saw what he would have to face, and he said, "I'm not going to deal with that any longer."
Oh, my goodness. My goodness. The guru, Ronald Murphy. Tell us a little bit more. Do you have any more Sasquatch stories you want to share with us? We're about 7.5 minutes.
Okay. How many minutes?
7.5.
7.5 minutes. Okay. So we'll talk more about this kind of the experiencer getting these experiences. So this was not very long ago. This was probably only about 5 years ago. And I get up in the morning. It's wintertime. I'm watching TV, and all of a sudden it says school has been canceled. Now, whenever school is canceled in the Murphy household, that means nonstop horror for Ron Murphy throughout the day. You know, I'm a single dad by this time. I've got 5 kids living at home. I am up to, you know, I've got to call off work. This is going to be my day. So one of the things that the crypto guru does, which is a bad habit, and I shouldn't do it all the time, but whenever I get very, very nervous, sometimes I will smoke a cigarette because that's one thing the kids do not want that I am doing. It's something they can't enjoy. So I don't smoke all the time. So I keep the cigarettes in my car. So I go out, I open up the door to the breast of the new fallen snow. And as I make my way to my car, I notice that there are tracks in my yard. In my yard, not only are they tracks, but they're barefoot tracks as well, too. That means that they have no shoes or socks on. I actually sent these pictures to you, if I'm not mistaken, Dave. I think that I did. So it was interesting, to say the least. I was shocked. So I thought, I got to find out where these things started. They started in the middle of my yard, and they didn't originate from any place. They just appeared. But they appeared a little by little. So it was a right foot, and then a little bit farther away, it was another right foot, and then a left foot, and then a right foot, as if it stepped out of something or materialized or whatever, became tangible. These are true stories. I have no way of telling you what happened. I'm just reporting what happened to me. So there was a trackway that led up to my window, to where my dining room was, and then went over the hill and vanished. They vanished just as if they began. They just stepped out into nothingness. The trackway maybe consisted of maybe 25 tracks total. And I've documented the majority of them. I have evidence of them. But the other thing is, these are not your typical Bigfoot tracks. These were very small tracks, about maybe a little bit bigger than a toddler's track. So I'm saying maybe a 5-year-old track. Completely barefoot, with no origin besides stepping out into our reality, and no end besides leaving our reality. Again, I'm a Bigfoot investigator. How does this happen? Why is it looking in my window? No way to explain it. I've never tried to make any money off this. I didn't include it in any of my books or anything like that. But this is a story that I simply cannot explain away. I contacted the grandfather of the paranormal here in Western Pennsylvania, Stan Gordon, and he said for about the past 30 years in this area, these Bigfoot tracks, these small tracks, have been reported, which I never had heard of before. Now, what was curious is about 3 years later, the exact same spot. So we're talking about the last time I was there was about a year and a half ago. In the springtime, we found the same size tracks in the mud that, again, just were in the mud, didn't lead any place else, just a few tracks, same size as if it was the same creature. Again, hard to explain. I have no idea what was going on. I documented it all on film. But what is interesting is after we found these tracks in the springtime, and these tracks were probably about 100 yards away from my house. That section of the woods is now posted. People used to go up there hunting. People used to go up there hiking and everything. And now that place is blocked off.
Really?
Yep.
When you are in the area as an experiencer, investigator, author, where you know Sasquatch is, and you are hearing strange noises, maybe everything from whooping to wood knocks, or maybe even the heavy breathing coming from the forest, what goes through your mind when you're in that close proximity?
What goes through my mind is what am I hearing? Because the skeptical side of me says this cannot be happening, okay? But whenever you're confronted with something like this, there's really nothing else. There's really no other variable in there that makes any sense. There's no other red herring in there. If this was a math equation, you just solve. You solve for X. And the most logical explanation is there's something out there that has been uncategorized, uncataloged, and it is in your presence. That's the only way I can explain it. Again, I've never physically seen the creature. I've seen tracks. I've heard noises. So my quest to find the truth is still out there. But there is enough of this anecdotal evidence that is leading me to believe that there is a creature out there called a Bigfoot that people have been seeing for thousands of years. And we call it a legend simply because science has not pinned it down onto a table yet and cut it open.
A minute to go here, Guru, as we continue on. So, in other words, if you're in the vicinity of Bigfoot, do you stand still? Do you keep looking for it? Or do you stay in a group so that way you don't get in any trouble?
Well, from what my research is starting to show, and from what my experience is starting to show, I don't think you have much of a voluntary response to it. I think that whenever you're confronted with something like this, you are immediately confronted with this fight or flight response that is ingrained in us since we left the savannas of Africa. I think that there is something within us that we know exactly what this is because our, evolutionary development had to at least have been concurrent with these things. So we do have some sort of working knowledge about what these things are, even if it's on a subconscious level. And I also think that they utilize infrasound. I truly do. And I think that idea that we are stunned and we don't know what to do next is coming from a very explainable biological function that's known as infrasound that many animals around the world use. A tiger, for instance, they say if you're confronted by a tiger, a lot of people report not being able to move as if they're frozen in place because the infrasound so impacts your body that it kind of messes up the way you normally think.
All right, Crypto Guru Ronald Murphy, 1 hour down, another 90 minutes to go with the Guru himself. We love Crypto Guru Ronald L. Murphy Jr. You can find all of his books on Amazon. Follow him on Twitter at Crypto Guru Ron. Yes, I gave him the nickname. Don't let anybody else take credit for that.
That's right.
Spaced Out Radio continues with more stories, fables, and legends with the Guru next. All right, we're clear.
No, excellent.
Overbuilt Automotive, how you doing, buddy? Tangerina Arena, welcome to the SOR chat. Appreciate that for coming on in. I like the newbies. Yeah. Hold on, what does John want here? Oh, that's nice, John. That is nice. I gotta get him a link for later, so just bear with me here, Guru.
Sure.
Where the hell is... There it is. I swear to goodness, I cannot find a thing tonight. Cannot find a thing. All right. When you were talking about fear there, when Samantha Mowat and I saw the aliens in the forest, I was frozen still too.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel like anything overcame me. I think for me, it was more... honestly, it was like, can you believe this shit going on right now? This can't be real, right? And I was so confused by, hello, gorgeous Larry, how are you? I was so confused, Ron, by the sight of it all. Jim, how you doing? That I couldn't move.
Right. No, I think that's what a lot of people, especially whenever I'm doing conferences, that's the main thing that people come up to tell me. Normal people come up and ask me if I believe in this stuff. I tell them, like, keep an open mind. And then they sometimes just let loose. I mean, I've seen guys that look like they could, ride with the Hell's Angels breaking down in tears because something crossed their path. Nothing confrontational, mind you. They saw something that they could not explain, and it so impacted them on a psychological, emotional, spiritual aspect that they needed to get it off their chest. And that is really what happens, I think. We're confronted with something that should not be out there. And then once we see it, or once we hear it, or once we experience it, it's up to us now to try to plug it in to our lives and how it works in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes that's a very difficult thing to do.
Oh, absolutely it is, bud. Absolutely it is. And, we've got 3 minutes here. But it's very, very scary.
It is.
It's very scary. Majdi is like, or is it Mighty? Mighty or Majdi? Is the J pronounced? Anyways, asking, it was great to hear your experience with UCR channel. Yeah, thank you so much. There was a lot of negative comments towards me on that. No fault of Lou and the team. They were fantastic. But there was a lot of negative comments on that one. Ed Clater, what's happening, man? Ed Clater. There we go. Got it out. Spooky Morales, thank you for that super chat, by the way, and thank you to Smithy, Brian, Carla, Reverend Keith, Swampy, and Nicola for the amazing super chats. Remember, folks, this is a great way to support what we do on this channel on a nightly basis. And if you want, I encourage you to go shopping on our website, spacedoutradio.com/shop, where you can pick out some really cool swag. It's not just t-shirts. If you find a logo that you like, click on it. And you scroll down, you'll see a bunch of different logos for hoodies and ball caps and stickers and everything in there. So, just go check it on out. Appreciate it. Yeah, I was totally supported by the guys from UCR, Spooky. Totally supported by them. But afterwards you read the chats, and I reported one the other day. Reported one real negative comment on a good friend's chat. This person was just completely rude. So, goes with the territory.
It does. Well, that's a good point. Whenever we talked about people wanting to get involved in this, every show that I do, and I'm sure you're the same way, you have people that follow you just because they hate you. They don't like what you have to say, so they'll spend 2 hours of their lives to troll you and write down negative things.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I think that's look. Almost every time that we do this show together, you have the same people commenting negative things and giving the thumbs down or whatever. That's fine and dandy. That's their prerogative. But they're still listening to the whole freaking show.
Yeah, I had one. I had one on YouTube today that I saw. Guy was, ripping me. I just went, "Hey, thanks for listening."
Yeah, exactly.
Hit that subscribe button. The gorgeous Lori Oliphant is here. I believe she's in Pennsylvania too. All right, we got 30 seconds. A big thank you to everybody tuning us in. Super Chat is open, as well as thank you to all the veterans who are tuning in. Remember, you always have a safe home here on Spaced Out Radio in our chat room. And, of course, all the regulars who are here nightly and pop it on in and out. I love seeing you guys here. You make it so much fun. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and let us know. Hey, Mennonite Abe, how are you, buddy? And we're going to get going in 3 seconds. Get your horns up. Here comes Bumblefoot.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Big thank you to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. All you got to do is go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ranitophobia. Ranitophobia is your password. Nobody knows what it means, but the Clam sets the password each and every night, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire, and check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. You can follow him on Twitter at Crypto Guru Ron, and of course, check out all of his books on Amazon. You got to type in Ronald L. Murphy Jr., and it's spooky tales and stories for the build-up to Halloween. Guru, welcome back.
Thanks a lot, my friend. Thanks a lot. And, what we have another, hour and a half left or something like that. I'm just closing in on like an hour now. See, things go, you're going to have to make this a 6-hour show.
Oh, goodness. Goodness. That would kill my voice.
Yes, I know.
It would kill my voice, But, hey, we're going to move on here. And, Ron, there's always a lot of legends and lore that come out around this time and year where people all of a sudden, realize the paranormal is very popular for at least 1 month out of the year, and that is the month of October. And the closer we get to Halloween, the closer we get to people telling all sorts of spooky stories. What kind of spooky ghost stories do you have for us?
Well, I will tell you about one that was very personal to me, as a matter of fact. So we got this house. Oh, thank you very much. That's very nice. I see. That makes me feel better because I don't get any love around here. But
not when your kids are eating breakfast for dinner. You don't.
Exactly. That's right. So. This is before I got my divorce. I was still married, but this is one of those incidences that actually I think kind of spurred the inevitable on a little bit quicker. So we got this house. It was an older house. We moved in, and we found it strange that the attic was sealed off. I have no idea why it was sealed off, but the previous owners had put up drywall and repainted it, so you couldn't even find the door to the attic. But what was interesting is there was still a window outside, and we put a ladder up, and we looked in, and the room.
Hi, this is Lawrence White from the Natural Food Podcast. Come over and check me out. We talk about men in relationships. We talk about women in relationships. Yeah, we even had the conversation about straight men dating transsexuals. We talk about cryptocurrency, entertainment. We talk about what the boop. See, I even edited myself. So check me out. It's Lawrence White, the Natural Food Podcast. Later.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
Had a table in it and a chair and a light, and that was it. But for whatever reason, the previous owners had sealed it off, which was kind of freaky. So shortly after we moved in, my daughter, Devin, started to say that she was experiencing some sort of figure in her room. Now, at the time, I think that she might have been about 11 or 12, so she was just a little one. And she got to the point where she refused to sleep in her room. She described it as some sort of shadow man looking at her. My wife at the time, she was down on the couch, and she said that she thought it was me coming downstairs but she said that she could see something, a shape, moving down the stairs, stopped about midway on the stairs, and then just glanced into the living room. She thought it was me. Whenever she found out that it wasn't me, she had no idea what to do with this kind of stuff. But one time I was down on the couch, and I too saw a shadow move down. I didn't see it clearly. All I could see in my peripheral vision was a shadow coming down. Okay, so then other strange things start happening. We had to have the fire department in our house several times because an overwhelming smell of gas permeated the house. All the times they had come, no sign of any kind of gas leak or anything like that. Then it started to get to the point where things were breaking. We had parked my car out in the yard. One night, we didn't even hear a noise. Go out the next day, and the car's window is shattered. But what made it so strange is that it was shattered from the inside out, which really, really kind of weird. So we, I had kids, 5 kids, and they were playing with the little neighbor kids. And I was outside on the swing while they were playing, and the little neighbor boy, they were running around our house. Then the little neighbor boy had seen me up there on the porch, and he slows down a little bit, and he climbs up the steps, and he sits down beside me, and he says to me, again, this is a true story. You can't make this kind of stuff up. He says to me, "I know your house is haunted." Again, this is a true story. I look at him and I said, "What?" And he said, "I know your house is haunted." And I said, "How do you know that?" He said, "Because whenever I look out my window at night, I can see them in your yard." Okay. So yeah, exactly. So that's what I said as well too. So things are breaking. There are these shadowy kind of figures being seen. Things are moving in the house. So I decide it's time to call in a medium. I don't know really what else to do. A good friend of mine was Dolores Kincannon. I had worked with her for a number of years, and I really trusted her. She came to the house, and she said, I sense 2 spirits in this house. The one that is breaking things, the one that is driving you out of the house is actually the good ghost, because it does not want the evil spirit to come after your family. Now think about that for a second, okay? So what she was saying is the thing that was causing us the most damage in that house was actually a benevolent force trying to get us out so nothing worse would come about. That was a terrifying thing for us. And again, I can't say that was one of the things that led to my divorce, but that was definitely one of the things that was going in that direction, because it put up an incredible stress on the family. It was turning things upside down. My daughter that was experiencing these things did not want to live there any longer. And I think it all goes back to that room that was sealed off for whatever reason. I still do not have any kind of idea about why it might have happened that way. But yeah, that's what happened.
Wow, that sounds eerily similar to mine. My ex-wife and I lived in a duplex, and our best friends lived next door to us. And it was convenient because we shared babysitting, and we shared dinners together, and it was just a great time. Our side, completely haunted. Nothing happening on their side. Nothing. Knocking on walls. All of our teaspoons and drinking glasses disappeared over time. And I remember one time I got back from the radio station. I got back from work probably around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was sitting or laying on my couch watching television, because after I got done reading the sports on the radio, when I got home, the first thing I would do is I'd go home and I'd watch the sports highlights to see if I missed anything. And so about 10-15 minutes later, my daughter comes walking down the stairs, sleepwalking. And she comes in, and she's only about 3 years old at the time. She lies down on my chest, and, we fall asleep under the blanket that I was under. And so at about 4 o'clock in the morning, my buddy next door had this big dog. And at about 4 o'clock every morning, this dog would start to bark, and it would stop. So I wake up, I'm immediately angry because it's woken me up out of my sleep, and I got to be up in a couple of hours to get my kid ready for the next day and everything like that. And I'm facing the back of the couch, and my daughter is using my arm as a pillow in between me and the back of the couch. So I figured, okay, I'm going to roll over, slowly pull my hand underneath so that way she doesn't wake up. And then I'm going to go to the window. I'm going to yell at the dog to tell him to shut up. And as I turn over, I rolled over this way. And as my eyes kind of adjusted, about 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from me, there was a little girl standing there. And she was wearing a white nightie. She had long ringlet hair, the pudgy kid's cheeks, and she was just standing there staring at me. So I did what any man would do. I screeched, and I rolled myself over, flipped the blanket over my head, caught my breath because I could see right through her. This is how old the story is. My VCR was saying 4:02 a.m. 4:02 a.m. And so I caught my breath. I actually pinched myself to see if I was awake because I'd never seen a ghost before. And I rolled back over. Okay, what do I do if she's still there? I got to get my daughter and me out of here. And I rolled over, and she's gone. So quickly grab my daughter, run us upstairs, right into bed, and fall asleep, tell my ex-wife about what happened. And then a few days later, once a year, my buddy Steve and I, we'd have a game of college football on the old Nintendo. And I was over at his house playing college football, and it was usually one of those nights where we never had a time limit. And so all of a sudden, I get home about 1:30 in the morning, and my ex-wife says to me, "I saw your ghost." I said, "What do you mean you saw the ghost?" She goes, "I was woken up to the piano playing." And she goes, "I thought it was the cats playing around," because we had 2 cats. And she goes, "I thought they were playing around on the piano." And we had a 2-tiered stairwell from going upstairs to downstairs. And she went down to the first tier and kind of looked down at the piano to yell at the cats. And here was the same little girl in the same nightie playing on the piano, like just banging on the keys. And then the little girl stopped and turned and looked up at my ex-wife. So my ex-wife did what she would do, and she ran to the bedroom and quickly closed the door. Right? But this place, man, we had everything. Like inside our master bedroom closet, there would be scratching on the walls at night. One time, if you have a coin, and I went outside and I took our dog for a pee, and the power had gone out, and it wasn't late, and it was about, I'm going to say about 10 o'clock at night. So my ex-wife and our neighbor next door, this is still in the duplex, they decided they were going to drive to Starbucks and go get a coffee and get me a hot chocolate and everything. And so I'm outside with my dog at the time, and he's out doing his business. And you know the sound a coin makes on glass, kind of like that. And I turn to our kitchen window, and I look, and I'm thinking, oh crap, the daughters have awoken, and I got to check this out because they're probably freaked out. There's no lights, and where's mom and dad? So I quickly run inside, and I've got my flashlight and, run upstairs. Kids are still snoring away, sleeping away, cutting logs. I'm like, what the heck was that? And then our final night there, we were moving, and I was cleaning out the place, and the ex-wife and I were standing, cleaning out and wiping down our linen towel closet. And as we were cleaning it out, the bathroom was right beside us, and then there was a covered porch. It used to be a porch, but it was now covered into a storage room. And from that, the storage room door was open, and the bathroom door was open. And from either the bathroom or the storage room, I mean, both are only a couple of feet away. I don't know what room it was, but we hear this little girl's voice say, "Mommy." My ex-wife and I look at each other. She goes, "I'm out of here. I'm done." And we never went back. But the funny part about it is, my daughter, when she went through high school, one of her friends from high school literally lived about 5 houses down, but we had to pass our old place. And she says every time she walked past that place, she would see the little girl standing in her bedroom window.
That is very, very eerie. Wow. See, one of the people on here said too, whenever it's the ghost of a child, that somehow makes it even more terrifying.
Yes, hugely. You know, I mean, there's just something real creepy about that.
Yes, that's right. Now, I've talked to paranormal investigators, and it's odd because it always is a little child. Whenever you talk about the little ringlets and things like that, that's something that's very common. And I've talked to researchers before that have experienced these little girls in homes, and whenever they get close, sometimes the child doesn't have any eyes or doesn't have a mouth. And some people think that might be a demonic spirit trying to imitate a child. And, you know, there's an idea in the paranormal realm that demons are not able to counterfeit reality 100%. There's always going to be a flaw in their copy. And one of the things is they cannot reproduce the face completely. So you'll have things that are missing eyes or noses and other freakish type of grotesque figures. But whenever you experience something like that, like whenever it comes to ghosts, it's not a question of whether I believe in them or not. I accept it face value. I think that is something that's so ingrained in who we are as human beings that almost everybody believes in a ghost and has no problem with saying that ghosts exists. Now, it's what other things might be there as well. Are we talking about a ghost is a disembodied spirit? Is it a created entity? Is it something that is demonic? All these kind of things come into the realm as well and kind of muddy the waters. But what you had dealt with to the point that it was frightening you enough to want you to get out of there, I can never think the same way in my case that could be something that is good in any way.
No, I don't like child ghosts.
That's right.
Just don't like them. There's just something morbidly eerie about a child spirit or ghost that I don't want anything to do that.
Right. That's right. No, I agree. Now, what was also interesting about this, well, one of the good things about this is I really never had ghostly encounters before. And it was these things that gave me the impulse to write my book entitled On Ghosts. So if anybody wants to go to Amazon and read On Ghosts, a lot of my experiences are documented in there because I was writing the book as these experiences were happening.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. We got 4 minutes left, Guru. In regards to ghosts and ghouls, goblins, I mean, it sounded like you had a poltergeist almost at your place.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, yeah, I think that's a good point. So when we talk about poltergeists, I'm not sure if we can classify those things all by themselves. I think that a full-bodied apparition or a classic haunting, as we would call them, also has the capabilities of being a poltergeist, to be something that just acts on emotion in on force upon the world. I truly think that can happen. Now, I have investigated poltergeist happenings before, where the only thing that is presented in that particular haunting is movements and things, and you never experience anything. But I think that you can be living in a house that's inhabited by a ghost, and it can manifest itself in very, very many different aspects. But yeah, absolutely. Whenever you're dealing with anything that is breaking the rules of physics, turning things over, breaking things, you are now seeing the other world acting physically upon your world. And that's really what turns things upside down. Because even though, like you said about that little ghost, you could see through it, it was also able to have a mass in order to play the piano. You know what I mean? So these kind of strange things doesn't sit well with us because we can't explain them away. It doesn't make any sense to us scientifically, but it's still happening. So what do we do with that? How do we make it acceptable in our own minds? And I think for the most part, we just say it's ghostly activity, and there's really no other way to explain it away.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, man. I've never experienced that. You know, that's the one paranormal experience I honestly would like to see. I would love to see something move. I have been pinched. I have been touched by ghosts. I've never been shoved. I've been attacked, and that was kind of strange. But I've never seen that poltergeist activity with things flying off the counters or chairs moving or anything. And yeah, I feel kind of ripped off about that, man.
Right. Yeah, I've been to the room of a child that was in a hospital, and I saw a rubber ball move from one side of the room to the other side and then back across again. I have seen that with my own eyes before. And I was not scared. You know, I think in a different circumstance, it would have been, but I was not afraid. I think that this spirit was trying to say, hey, I'm here, almost, that kind of a thing. Like, you know, or at least I existed. I was someone. But whenever things break, and I've investigated things of that nature as well too, that is something entirely off-putting. So the movement of a ball across the room was very influential on me, because it made it seem as if it was trying to interact to say that it knew that we were there and we knew that it was there. But whenever there's violence, that's something that I can't deal with.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. You know, we got about 30 seconds left, and when we come back from the break, we'll get into more monster talk, because I know the Guru has a bunch of monster stories that he would love to share with you guys in regards to ghouls, goblins, and Bigfoot, Dogman. We'll find out what's happening in Chestnut Ridge and other places that he loves to investigate. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is here once again, our pre-Halloween show with the guru. You can follow him on Twitter at Crypto Guru Ron. Find all his books on Amazon by going to Ronald L. Murphy Jr. The stories continue as we keep on rocking Guru time here on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned.
I hope your listeners are having a good time. They're very talkative, which I absolutely love. But I hope that they are having a good time, because, look, you know, nobody wants to go out there. If we suck, you know, let us know that we suck. But I hope that they're having a good time.
I think they are. Quick question for you here from, where is it here? From Sasquatch. What can you tell us about the woman in white?
So there's a lot of different women in white. There's, you know, a famous one in Chicago. There's one outside of Bangor, Maine. That's a common I'm not going to say urban legend, but that's a common trope whenever it comes to hauntings. The inevitable woman in white. So it could be a bride that died on her wedding day. It could be somebody that died during homecoming. But that is a typical type of thing whenever we hear these kind of things. So unless he's more specific.
Yeah,
I'm glad they're having a good
Vancouver
time.
also has a woman in white too.
See, there you go.
Yeah, she is a hitchhiker.
Yeah,
and so people will pull. It usually happens on rainy or really dark nights, and people will pull over and pick her up, and they'll say where you're going, and they'll have a conversation. They'll get a couple of miles down the road, and she'll be gone.
Yep. That's a common thing, like I said. So that's almost archetypical of these kind of women in white stories.
Jeremy's from Maine. Tell him more about the one in Bangor.
Yeah. Well, it was almost verbatim of what you just talked about, Dave. So yeah, there's a very well, most all of the roads in Maine are very rural, but there's the very famous woman in white, and I don't know what that road is, Jeremy.
Sometimes you just need more fridge or freezer space. The Frigidaire Gallery Custom Flex Temp Drawer Refrigerator has the flexibility you need. Available at Lowe's, the Custom Flex Temp Drawer adjusts from fridge to freezer with just the touch of a button. So whether you're entertaining and want to chill wine and cheese to the perfect temp, or need more freezer space for leftovers, this fridge can do it all. Visit a Lowe's today to see for yourself. Every day is a great day to shop appliances at Lowe's. U.S. only.
Life can be overwhelming, but help is here. Gulfport Behavioral Health System is your treatment provider for mental and behavioral health issues. For nearly 40 years, we've helped adults, adolescents, and children as young as 4 find the coping skills to get back on track. We're here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Hope starts here. Visit gulfportbehavioral.com to learn more. With limited exceptions, physicians are not employees or agents of this hospital.
Unfortunately, but it's between Bangor and I wish I could think of the other town, which is escaping me right now. But it's very wooded, very isolated, and someplace that needs a ghost. So even if it's not a real ghost and it's a fabricated one, it's there because for a good reason. Well, thank you, Jenny White Bear.
I'm just Googling it. Let's see, is this it? Route 182?
That might be it.
Let's see here. I'm just looking here. Just mute this site because there's a lot of pop-ups on this site. We got lots of time. Yeah, I think Route 182.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Hopefully that makes sense to somebody up there.
Why don't we hear about men in white or any other colors?
Yeah, I don't understand. Well, a lot of times the reason she's in white is because something tragic happened on a very important day, like a wedding day, or she was one of those kind of things. So it's a traumatic experience.
Gotcha. We got about just over 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That looks good, Dave. What are you smoking there, buddy?
This is pineapple ice.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good flavor. Have there been any recent cryptid creature sightings around Lawrence County, Pennsylvania? Hey, Whit Nelson?
But I'll tell you what. If you are there, I will be up at Hillview Manor in Lawrence County. Not this Friday, coming up at next Friday on October 22nd. So I hope you come out and see me because I'm going to be giving a talk on the haunted history of Halloween.
Chris Moe from Austria, good to see you, buddy. Whit Helton, nice to have you here. All right. Guru, I want a creepy Dogman or Bigfoot story next.
All right, we'll do a Dogman story.
All right. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. A big thank you to Mennonite, Abe, Spooky, Smithy, Brian, Carla, Reverend Keith, Swampy, and Nicola with the crazy and awesome super chats. Really do appreciate the love and support you guys give. It's a great way to support what we do here on a nightly basis. Big thank you to all the veterans who are tuned on in. And you always have a safe home here with us on Spaced Out Radio in our chat room. Thank you to all the regulars who are here, and to the new people listening in for the first time. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. We're here for you 7 days a week, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. And you can also do a little shopping for some swag on our website, spacedoutradio.com/shop. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Crypto Guru time continues here in the build-up to Halloween with some spooky tales of ghosts, ghouls, and goblins. Ronald L. Murphy Jr. is who you look up on Amazon for any one of his great books that are out there. And Guru, it is always a pleasure to have you here, my friend.
Absolutely. I would rather be no other place. You know what? I would like to be sitting beside you in the studio right now, talking with you person to person. That's what needs to happen one day.
You know what? I would love that to happen, because you know what we'll do after the show?
What's that?
We'll drive out into the forest and listen to see if we can find anything.
There you go. That's perfect. We will eat breakfast and then head out into the forest.
No, we will not, because it'll be nighttime. What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry. I had a moment of...
Yeah, I hope not. I really hope not. All right. One of the creatures that scares the living daylights out of a lot of people, man, is the legendary Dogman. This is a creature that relatively was unknown until Linda Godfrey's article of the Beast of Bray Road back in 1989 in Wisconsin. And now this Dogman seems to be everywhere in North America, from the forests of British Columbia around where I am, right down into southern New York, and way below into the areas of, everywhere from Florida, Georgia, and in between. Ron, I don't know what it is about this creature, man, but we've heard about people shooting it, and it doesn't go down. We've heard about people running away from it, and it always seems to be creeping behind. Well, like a horror movie where you're running at top speed and this thing's keeping up by walking. I mean, what is with this creature?
I don't know, but if you wanted to pick out the perfect creature to haunt you, this would be the thing. It has all the beastly aspects of something that, that scares the dickens out of you. It has the fangs. It has the powerful paws and the claws. It has the speed, but it also has the intelligence. See, that's what is really scary. If this was just a big overgrown wolf, that's something to be frightened about. But what really gets into our consciousness is that it acts like a man. It's able to stand up. It's able to reason. That's whenever it becomes the stuff of nightmares right there. Because if you lock your door, a wolf is not going to get inside. But if you lock your door, it's still capable that a dog-man will try to get inside. And we're going to talk about Maine again here real quick. Because, again, of all the states east of the Mississippi, Maine is really the most sparsely populated. So this is a great place for these monster stories to develop. And this is one of the reasons why Stephen King has so many things set in Maine. It is a spooky place. It's a very wild place, and you don't see a lot of people. But I've spent a lot of time, thankfully, because it's one of my favorite places, doing research in Maine. But there was a story up there about a family that moved into a little cottage out in the middle of the woods. And very quickly after they moved in, they were tormented by, for lack of a better term, these dogman creatures that inhabited the area. Now, as I said before, it's one thing whenever they live in the woods, that's one thing. But these creatures now are coming up and knocking at the door or trying to turn the doorknob or calling out names. See, these are the things that gets really, really spooky. And that is one of the hallmarks with these dogmen creatures, is that they don't act completely animalistic. There is also that intelligent side to it as well. So I will tell you my story because somebody also put on there about the idea of a skinwalker. I'll tell you my story, and then you folks can kind of tell me what was going on. How much time do we have here, Dave?
Oh, we got 18 minutes.
18 minutes, okay. So the reason why I investigated this one particular area is because a gentleman would come into the shop. I had mentioned Dolores Kincannon earlier on, the psychic that I used at my house. Well, she used to have a little New Age shop very close to where I lived. And a lot of people would go in there just to talk. So this one lady, she was a younger lady in her 20s. She and her daughter would come into the shop, and sometimes she would buy some crystals or sometimes she would buy some incense, but she would come in there basically to chat. And she was telling Dolores that she met a guy. She met, a guy off of a dating site. He was coming in from California. He was taking the Greyhound in. They were smitten with each other, over the internet. Now they had to meet each other. So several days later, the young lady comes into the shop, and she brings this guy with her. Okay. And he would come into the shop, and he really wouldn't say much. He would stick to himself. Maybe in a hello, maybe a goodbye, but no kind of conversations. Then it got to the point where he started to come into the shop all by himself. Then after a few days' time, he started to build up, conversations, build up enough swagger to start, talking to people because he was from out of town and everything. But one of the first things he said to Dolores was, "I have to tell you a secret. I am a werewolf." Now, immediately she thought that he had some sort of mental illness. But he would keep on coming in and occasionally want to talk about this kind of lycanthropy that he was suffering from. So she did ask the questions, what's going on? Why are you bringing this up? And he went into this story that he knew he was going to change. It was a chemical thing. It had nothing to do with the moon, but he felt as if he was going to change very, very soon. And not only that, but his father was also a werewolf. And whenever his father would go through the transformation, they would feel it coming on several days before it happened. And then his mother would take the father down into the basement, would shackle him up down there, and then they would leave for a day, or for several days. Then come back after the transformation was over and everything would be fine. So he was telling Dolores that he felt that this transformation was going to happen soon. And the reason why he was so worried about it, and the reason why I was talking to people about it, is he was afraid that he was going to hurt his girlfriend's young child. Now, from a psychological point of view, you have to ask, does this show that this person has some sort of proclivity to hurting children? Is this a projection of himself onto this daughter, and he simply does not want to admit that he's that kind of a person? Possibly. But he was telling Dolores, as the story went on, that he had to find some place where he could go to transform. Now, there is an area around where I live right now called Livermore. It used to be a railroad town. Since that time, the Army Corps of Engineers had come in. They made it into flood control area. Now nobody lives within miles around the place. There's only one way in and one way out, and that's the same way. Very isolated area. So he ends up there. He disappears for a while. The girlfriend comes into the shop and says, I think my boyfriend left. He's not around or anything like that. Anyways, about 5 days later, he comes in and he says that he did indeed transform. He went to this area called Livermore, which is outside of town, out in the middle of nowhere, and he transformed into this wolf creature. Now, not only did he transform into this wolf creature, but whenever he was down there, he actually ran into a female werewolf down there, and they ran together, So he's saying that there's other creatures down there as well, too. As the story goes, he eventually did leave his girlfriend. He went back to California. So let that be kind of like a warning to people that are looking for boyfriends online. But anyways, this was a prime area for at least the knowledge, or at least the urban legend, that werewolves exist down there. So I went down there on an evening expedition with one of my buddies, Ryan, and we were down there probably about 10 o'clock at night, and we were searching for a werewolf. We had our Super 8 camera, nothing very technologically advanced whatsoever, but we were walking down the path, which was in the middle of the woods, and then it eventually would open up and lead to an abandoned train trestle. So we went out probably halfway onto the train trestle, and then all of a sudden, these electrical sparks start forming around us. They were above our head. They were around us. It looked as if you took a comforter off of your bed at night and you get that static electricity. That's what was going on. We also noticed that our camera equipment was dying very quickly. It was as if there was some sort of power surge and everything was starting to drain. So in conjunction with this static electricity that was going on and the power being drained from our equipment, we thought it's a good time to get out of here. So we turned to go on the trail back to where we had parked. And in the middle of the trail, a light flares on. It looked almost as if it was a flare. If you would take a sparkler on the 4th of July, and whenever you light it, you would get those kind of sparks. This is what was going on. And it ignited. It stayed on for a bit. It flashed on for a bit, and then it faded off. So this entire time may have been 2 to 3 seconds. Very, very limited duration. But Ryan and I, we had no other choice but to go back to where that light came from, because as I said, there's no way in, there's only one way in and one way out. So we start going back. And the point where that light had come on, something now was in the woods beside us off to our right. We could hear it moving. We could hear it following us, keeping pace with us. And every now and then, again, kind of like the story that I told you about the Bigfoot, or whatever the creature was my brother and I had witnessed, you could hear it taking an air. You could hear it was that close to us that we could hear that this was some sort of physical animal. So we start walking, trying to get out of there, and pretty soon we discover that we had left the trail. This sounds like a story from American Werewolf in London, but we were now in the underbrush, and it was imperative that we find the trail because we were in danger of not only getting lost, but getting tripped up. So whenever we came to a stop to try to get our bearings, off to our left, one time, and this is the only time this has ever happened to me on an investigation, something calls out my name. It says Ron. Simple as that. It sounded like a female voice, but just one time. What was interesting about that, however, is the sound where the voice came from was the direction that led us back onto the path that we needed to be on. So we get back onto the path. We hear whatever that creature is off on our right, still following us. And then as we make the turn to go up the hill, it kind of sits back there, I guess, watching us as we leave. But the interesting part about this was if my name wasn't called by that voice, we would have continued straight into its path, into its intersection. So whatever happened, we were able to find the trail and get back home. Now, we had other investigators with us up at the cars. We go back and we go to separate rooms, and we decided that we were going to write our story without telling each other anything that we had heard, anything that we had witnessed or whatever. And our stories were remarkably alike. Now, we did not see this creature, but we all both described it the way we saw it within our mind. Whether this was a projection, whether this was a self-fulfilling prophecy or a fantasy, but whatever the case was, we saw it the same way. We knew that it had a snout. We could see the teeth. We could see these kind of yellow, orangish eyes. And we also knew that it was on 4 legs, but it was capable of going on 2 legs. So we both had these kind of things in our minds. Now, I will tell you, it is possible that we were looking for werewolves. So, of course, that image was already planted in there. Absolutely, that's possible. But, again, whatever it was, there was something physical following us, and something did call out my name. Now, this is the thing that I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to ask the listeners as well, too. That probably happened, I would say, about, maybe 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago, something like that. All of this time, I assumed that whatever had called my name was leading me to the path out of there. I assumed that it was some sort of protective spirit, some sort of guardian angel. But the more that I get into this kind of stuff, I'm finding out that especially in the plains areas, the Pacific Northwest, there's these creatures called the skinwalker that will actually call your name. So I don't know what happened. The cool thing about this is we did capture this on video. So we do have proof of this. We have proof of the light. We have the sound of the thing following us. Oddly, though, the voice did not appear on the tape. And because this was nighttime, you just see 2 grown men kind of like shaking, saying expletives, and you could hear some crashing in the woods every now and then. But you could see the light that emanated. We did capture that kind of sparking on that I had talked about. So what I'm trying to figure out, was that light that we saw evidence of what people call portals? Was that something that was allowing something to creep into our area? I have no idea. But all I know is after the strange light anomaly happened, something then began to follow us in the woods.
Wow.
And after it followed us in the woods, we heard my name being called by a voice that sounded like a female voice.
See, and yet my buddy Mike was out hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And this.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
Bad internet is bad for business. We've all been there. Lagging video chats, slow downloads.
Oh, come on.
It's just not a good look. Instead, call C Spire Business. Our local experts deliver gigabit speeds backed by thousands of miles of fiber for the fastest, most reliable internet around. Period. No excuses, no apologies. Just fiber-fast internet that works. C-Spire Business. See how our fiber solutions can help power your success at cspirebusiness.com.
This is going back to late 2018 in hunting season. He was hunting for grouse and rabbits, and he went into this gravel pit, and he actually heard my voice calling for him, help me, Mike, I'm over here. But he said the voice wasn't coming from one direction. It was unidirectional, coming from all around him, like it was emanating all around him. And he got scared. And this is a guy who rarely gets scared of anything. And it bothered him. It bothered him for quite a while. And you know, I've also heard too, because I went and asked a lot of our First Nations people around here about if we have skinwalkers or wendigos around here, and they said no, they'd never seen them. But the little people that are so much part of the First Nation lore are the ones who will actually do that, or the fairy folk in the forest who take care of the forest. So that's where it got a little haywire. But I've been in that area numerous times. I've never heard anything, never felt anything, or experienced anything at that spot. But it's weird. I mean, hearing your name from a non-entity,
right?
You know, I mean, that's creepy, man.
Right. That shows there's some sort of pre-knowledge of who you are. You know, somehow it's able to know that what your name is and what is going to get you to kind of pay attention. You know what I mean? And that shows some sort of cognitive ability that I really don't want to admit is out there. But whatever it was, it either heard somebody calling my name and repeated it, or it was able to grasp that just from, you know, my mind or whatever. I have no idea. But whenever we talk about the Wendigo, absolutely, the Great Lakes area, you know, the Great Lakes nations and everything. But I will tell you, in Ohio, in Kentucky, in Tennessee, the Adena culture, which is a Native American culture that came out of the Woodlands culture, and it was a very early culture. So you have the Adena people, the Hopewell people, and the Mississippian people. So we see this progression through these cultures. But the Adena culture, which was one of the very early cultures, you know, definitely pre-Columbian, you know, going back maybe 2,000 years, they had grave sites in Ohio and in Kentucky and in Tennessee that there was obviously some sort of wolf cult associated with it. Human bodies were buried in skins of the animal. And not only that, and this is what makes it so utterly interesting, is that after death, the human body actually had to be, sometimes the jaw had to be dislocated, sometimes it was cut off, and they would put a wolf jaw or wolf snout onto the human body. But they would make it to the point that they would actually have to deform the human body to get that snout to fit on there perfectly. So what they were doing is they were burying people, human beings, in the guise of half man and half wolf. And if we look at this culture, not very far from where a lot of these kind of burials took place, but there's the land between the lakes, which is in the Kentucky-Tennessee border. And in that area is a long tradition of dogman stories. So whatever has been going on there has been going on there for at least a couple of thousand years.
Yeah, that's just absolutely eerie, Ron. You know, I got to ask you, as we got about 90 seconds to go here, do you really believe that there are werewolves? I know you mentioned the story earlier, but werewolves are one of those things, man, where I have a tough time believing.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I do too. Again, I would love to think that a human being is capable of transforming into an animal. And if you look at the medieval tradition, whenever they talk about werewolves, the transformation almost always came psychologically. The representation, overwhelming majority of representation of werewolves in medieval art is always of a person shown in disheveled clothing and messed up hair, and that shows there's some sort of mental capacity problem. So usually it's something like that. Now, that's not to say that there's a creature out there that does indeed look like a dog man. I think that, again, we talk about connecting the dots. One of your listeners talked about Anubis. We see the idea of these dog men throughout the world. We have Anubis in Egyptian culture. You have Lycaon, the king Lycaon, where we get the word lichen from, in Greek culture. And you see the idea of the cynocephalus, the dog-headed people in places like India and Africa. And like the illustration I just said about the dogmen in the Ohio River Valley here in the United States. So across the world, there's these ideas that there are these kind of wolf man type of creatures. But I think that we shouldn't be looking at something that's transforming. I think
Guru, I gotta cut you off right there, buddy. We're gonna continue. We got the Guru for another half an hour. Then the fedora-wearing John Hudson joins us for the Unbiased UFO Report, Shirky Poo's News, and the Thought of the Dave, all coming up in Hour 3. All right, buddy, we're clear.
All right. Fun stuff, Dave. Fun stuff.
This is good times. Very good times, Guru.
That's right. Jenny Metz has got to call it a night. She can't put another 29 minutes and 30 seconds in with us.
Well, it's gorgeous Jenny Metz, man. You never know what's happening.
You never know.
The stunning L. Pepper has arrived. And let's see here. Big J, 21. Good to see you, buddy. We're doing good tonight. 184 on YouTube, man. Doing good.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. That's fun times. Guru, you know how to bring the people with you.
Jenny Whitebear, absolutely. One of the first stories I ever investigated about werewolves involved, it's the one up above that there, Dave. It's Jenny Whitebear. She said, what happened in a mental hospital where one of the patients believed that he transformed into a werewolf, and the people that were taking care of him said that he actually believed that he was a werewolf.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see here. She says, sorry, Guru, my internet keeps going down. That's terrible.
Jenny. All right, we'll let you slide this time.
Sweetly Morbid Bear wants to know how you got the nickname the Guru.
Mr. Dave Scott gave it to me.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
right.
I think it was about immediately when Ron and I hooked up for our first show, we became insta friends.
That's right.
And I almost immediately brought you on as a regular.
It was.
And
I had one book out, Dave. I had one book out, yeah.
Yeah, and so the popularity of Ron really took off with our listeners, and I just made a comment that he's like a guru, just the way he speaks and the eloquency and everything like that, and it was cool, and so by the end of the show, I was calling him the Crypto Guru. We kind of laughed about it on the air, and I said, "That's it. That's what I'm calling you."
Yeah, I love it. And this is a true story. Whenever I did the Travel Channel show, True Terror, they wanted to put under my name, Crypto Guru, but the Travel Channel wouldn't allow them to do it. Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Overbuilt has a question. If lost in a winter storm in the woods and a nice Sasquatch girl saved your life, Guru, she then took you to her cave and needed sweet Sasquatch cuddle loving, would you submit to her feminine wilds?
You know what? How cold is it out? If it's cold out, I'm going to say, yeah. I'll tell you what, Dave. We only live once. We might as well live, gas, no brakes. You know what I'm talking about.
You go.
Yeah. If it comes to it, it comes to it. I'm man enough to man up.
Oh, my God. Oh, Guru. I would too.
Yeah, you got to. Because
it's bragging rights at that point.
Exactly.
It's bragging rights at that point.
That's right. And there have been cases where people believe that they were abducted solely for the purpose of procreation with these creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's said to happen a lot up here in British Columbia.
Yeah.
Especially with First Nations people.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Abe, that's a good point. Did you know at one time Sasquatch porn was actually like a huge seller? It was Sasquatch romantic novels. They're about 100 pages long. That is a true story.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy, the way Dave says guru reminds him of the way Elaine called the guy Maestro on Seinfeld. All right, Guru, hold on a couple of seconds here. Big thank you to Mennonite Abe, Spooky, Smithy, Brian, Carla, Reverend Keith, amen to you, Swampy, and Nicola for the amazing super chats, and really appreciate you helping us out. It's a great way to support this show on a nightly basis, so thank you so much. We got about a minute to go here, and on Twitch watching is Pac Woman. Nice to see you tonight. Hope you're having a great night on Twitch. And I don't understand Twitch. I know we broadcast live there. I don't understand it at all. I know there's a big audience there. We got one of our goals here in the next month or so is to try and figure out how to work that a little bit better for us, but we'll see how it goes. But Twitch is cool. Very cool. I just don't know how to use it. All right, Guru, we got 30 seconds.
Awesome.
Big thank you to all the veterans out there who are tuning us in. We love you. You always have a safe home in our chat room. Big thank you to all the regulars who are here tonight, who are hanging on out and being with us. We really do appreciate the fun. And if you're new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. We are here 7 days a week. I'm here Monday through Friday, Lynn Wallington Saturday and Sunday. Get your horns up. It's time to rock with Bumblefoot.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Big thank you to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Just go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Renitophobia. Renitophobia is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Check out our swag, rock out to Bumblefoot, and read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. On Twitter, you can follow us at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we say hello to the crypto guru, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. You can find all of his amazing books by going to Amazon, his Twitter handle, at CryptoGuruRon, and we're going to continue on with spooky stories tonight. Guru, welcome back.
Hey, again, as I said, for the first half hour, which seemed about 20 minutes ago, we're now down to our final, 14 minutes. I cannot believe how quickly this goes.
I know, man. It's way too fast, and our audience loves you, and we're going to continue on. There's always a big connection, Halloween, with the fae and witches and ghouls and goblins, where are there really goblins and trolls living under bridges? Are there really fairies taking people that maybe into the fairy realm and we never see them again? Do you have any stories on that?
I do, and it's odd because for somebody that tries to be as skeptical as humanly possible, one of the things that I really cannot quantify, yet I do believe, is the idea of fairies. It's something that I've been fascinated with for a number of years. And again, when we connect the dots, all cultures around the world have an idea of what a fairy is. And it impacts us to this day. They're definitely archetypical characters. You start reading some of the accounts, and there was a very well documented account. It was in the Renaissance of Robert Kirk, who lived in Stirlingshire, Scotland, and he was a reverend, and he believed that he had encountered one evening fairies. He was walking down a trail, and in the woods he saw a mound, and that mound then had a light that emanated from it, so it appeared to be like a door. And he goes up to the mound, he peers inside, and he sees two different races in there. One is a very tall and human-looking person, and the other ones are rather short. If this was nowadays, we would say he encountered a UFO. We would say he encountered what we would call the Nordics and the Greys. That's what would happen. But whenever he was writing this, he saw these as elemental spirits, as intelligences within the earth themselves. As the story goes, and as he relates, he claims that he had interactions with the fairy world for a number of years. That he said that only atheists cannot see fairies, so everybody has the capabilities of seeing fairies, and he so longed to be part of that world that one night he went out for a walk and never returned. Now, if you would read some of the information from that time, yes, indeed, some people say that he disappeared off the face of the earth. There were some reports that they found him dead the next morning, laying on top of the fairy mound as if he had a heart attack or something. But whatever the case may be, he's so associated with this fairy mound that people believe that he was taken to the other realm. That is really one of the earliest documented cases by somebody that was writing an autobiography about their dealings with the fairy world. We can go back even farther to the, I don't even know what year it was. But hold on one second, because this story does have something good. I hate to have to ever Google anything here, but let's see here. Give me 1 second, children. It's the children of Woolpit, the green children of Woolpit. I just got to get a date on this for you. It was in the 12th century, so I'm glad I got a date for you because that's going pretty far back. So the green children of Woolpit, at the edge of the village, out of the woods comes two children who are green, and they cannot speak the language. They speak some other dialect. They don't understand. They were taken in for over a period of time. They would eat only green vegetables, like beans and things like that. The two children, one was a boy, one was a girl. They both grew up. They started to learn some English words. They were baptized. The little boy died shortly after his baptism. The girl lived to be an adult. They said she was rather wanton sexually, which is a great trope whenever it comes to the fairy world. But whenever she got old enough to talk about her story, she said that they came up from a place called St. Martin's Land, which was under the earth. And the sun never shone there, although there was some sort of light there, but she wasn't quite clear about that what it was. and her and her brother were simply walking around in that place, and she heard the bells of the church ringing, and they decided that they would go investigate it. I think that's a great story. There's really no kind of religious elements attached to it besides the baptism to make it seem as if it's some sort of parable. But that's really as far back as we can go to have these really cool documented stories of interactions with what people assume to be fairies.
Really?
Yeah.
We got 15 minutes left.
Okay.
And I'm going to cut it on the fairy talk here for a minute. And then I would love a quick story because Whit came in late into our chat room, and he's asking if you have any other Bigfoot stories. He really wants a Bigfoot story.
Another Bigfoot story. Okay, let me think if I can get not quite as scary. This happened to me. This was whenever I was taking my children for a walk up on the Chestnut Ridge. So my daughter, who is 15 now, was in a stroller. So we're probably going back about, 14 years probably. And we were going to go for an afternoon walk. And as we were driving up into the hills, we got one of those afternoon thunderstorms. So when we got out of the car, remember this is probably in July, we got out of the car, there was so much humidity built up that it was foggy. So we still decided to take a walk. The weather had broken, the sun was out, and we were walking we were pushing the stroller down the trail, and there was fog all around us, so you could barely even see the trees. But something told me to get out.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
Bad phone systems are bad for business. Poor clarity, lack of features, absolutely no support. Well, good news. Reliable VoIP does exist. VoIP from C Spire Business is a game-changing, stress-free communication system with crystal clear audio and premium features, all backed by our team of experts, available 24/7. Now that's VoIP. C Spire Business. Stay connected with powerful communication tools at cspire.com/business.
Something instinctually, I should say. I said to my wife at the time, I said, I don't think that we should be here. And she said, I got the same feeling. Now, this is an area that we always go to. I mean, this is a familiar area to us. So we decided that we were going to turn around. And this is about a mile. We probably already went about a mile by this time. So we decided that we were going to turn around. My oldest son, Donovan, who's now 20, he was picking up rocks and just absentmindedly throwing them into the woods. He expected to go on a hike. He was now bored because we had to go back home. So he was just throwing rocks, making noise. Both my wife and I were whispering to each other that we felt as if something was following us, something didn't want us there. And I think it's only an emotion or only a feeling that you can get as if you were a parent. It was that kind of protective mode that you would go into. So as we were going, my son kept on throwing the rocks, and I just turned to him and I said, look, Don, it's like this. No more rocks being thrown, buddy. And if you throw any more rocks, you're not going to get to watch any TV tomorrow. So we keep on going, and gosh darn it, another rock. And I turned around and I said, Donovan, I told you to stop throwing rocks. And he bent down and picked up a rock, and he said, something threw this at me.
Oh, wow.
See, so these are some strange stories. Again, I didn't see anything, but now I did investigate another case about a gentleman that had a heart condition. He lived in a trailer in the woods that was very close to the Chestnut Ridge. And one evening he had to get up and go to the bathroom. So he went into the bathroom, and he didn't turn on the light or anything like that. Apparently he had good aim. Some people don't, by the way, turn on the light whenever they go to the bathroom. I do turn on the light, but some people don't. But this is one of those guys that didn't turn on a light. So as he was as he was urinating, he looked out the window above the toilet, and there was a face looking in at him. He described the red glowing eyes. It had like fangs that protruded below the lower lip, and he promptly had a heart attack. And that was one of the only cases that I ever investigated with a person that ended up in the hospital over an encounter with Bigfoot.
Could you imagine what that would be like?
I couldn't. You have to understand too. Whenever I thought about this story many times, he's already groggy. You know what I mean? Like, you are very susceptible whenever you climb out of bed, and you're even more susceptible whenever you're going to the bathroom. So he's just sitting there doing his own business, and he looks out the window, and something is watching him. Oh, are you there?
I am, Guru. We still got you. We lost.
Yeah, what happened there a second? Let me see here.
We lost your camera, but that's okay. There
you
are.
There we go.
There you are. All right. And, let's get to some audience questions here, because I don't even want to go to bed thinking about Bigfoot staring in my bathroom window while I'm trying
Absolutely
to
not.
have
Nobody wants to think about that.
Exactly. Mr. Lurks-a-Lot is asking, has the Guru heard of the Blue Children of Kentucky? Great show as usual, Guru.
I have not. I need to be filled in on this. What is the Blue Children of Kentucky all about?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I want to Google this. Blue Children.
Oh, you know what? No. I think you can keep on Googling this. If I'm not mistaken, I do think that there is not a legend, but there are people down in certain parts of Appalachia that have this blue tint to them. And I think it's something genetic. I do know that for a fact.
Methemoglobinemia.
There you go. Yes. Now that you had brought up about yes, I have heard about that. And it is something that has to do with, like you said, genetics. Possible. So that's a good thing whenever we talk about the green children of Woolpit. But the curious thing about that is those children spoke another language. That's the strange part about that. So these children, for whatever they were so isolated they did not speak the King's English, as it were.
Yes, I can see that. That's just, wow.
And if you go to Woolpit to this very day, on their street sign is the two green children.
No kidding.
Yep.
No kidding. One of the comments in the chat room is about the gnome that I have right behind me in the video. You got any gnome stories?
I wish that I did. I do not have any gnome stories. Here in Western Pennsylvania, we do. It's pretty big. It used to be a huge mining area. So we do have the idea of the things called the knockers or the Tommy knockers. And these are supposedly gnomes that would work, beside miners. And sometimes they would knock and they would let the miners know that there was a cave-in that was imminent. So they usually worked, as beneficial figures to the miners.
Really?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. How many of these creatures actually look out for people?
Okay. So I would say it was probably about 15 years ago in outside of Pittsburgh. This little child went missing. And he had Down syndrome. And he was gone for several days. He was finally found, and he told the rescuers that the red man took care of him. So, whether that's the color of the skin or the color of the fur, what have you. Now, there was also the tell about 3 or 4 years ago about the little girl that went missing, and I forget what state it was in. But she was gone for several days, and she said that a bear took care of her.
That was a little boy in North Carolina.
It was a little boy in North Carolina. Yeah, so you do hear these stories of miracles happening, and I do believe in miracles. It is very possible that an animal can come and be somebody's angel, absolutely. But from a child's point of view, are they calling, a Bigfoot a bear because it looks similar? They might not have that as part of their vernacular in order to call it what they see it as. But I think that there's a lot of hints out there that these creatures or something is looking out after people whenever they're in the woods. However, on the flip side of that, there's also a lot of evidence that there's something preying upon people that get lost in the woods as well.
I just cannot imagine that. Cannot imagine what that would be like to become Bigfoot food or something along those lines. That's just eerie at times to even think of, and you think of all these missing people that have gone and just vanished. I mean, we were talking about it with Steve Stockton the other night, where we were talking about whether or not it is these creatures taking people or people walking through portals and ending up in different areas.
So have you ever had Pilates on your show?
Long time ago.
Yeah, I've only worked with him at a conference, I think, one time as well, too. So I don't really, know him very well. But he does raise a few interesting things. A lot of the reports are that, like, a person went missing in one area and then their belongings was found like 50 to 100 miles away, as if there was some sort of wormhole or something, that they were able to go over vast different distances in a very short period of time. Or they would find somebody's coffee that was still hot and the person was been missing for a week, that kind of stuff, as if the time frame was not fitting up, as if it did not match what was going on in our world. And I like the idea of people stepping into another realm, if you would. So the ideas of portals or whatever opening up and taking people away. Actually, I hope that that's what's happening, rather than they're being feasted upon by wild animals or some sort of creature.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. The interesting part about the whole portal theory to me is, where do they go? I often wonder if these people who maybe do enter portals even know if they are gone. Mm-hmm. Did they just walk into another timeline and everything else is exactly the way it is?
That's a very good point. I mean, do they walk into another timeline where? But see, so if we're talking about like a parallel universe,
well, let me tell you this story if you don't mind, because David Politis, as we got about 4 minutes left, David Politis tells his story from Missing 411 Canada, his book that came out a couple of years ago. And I believe it was in Ontario. These 3 young girls, 2 sisters and 1 friend, were horseback riding on the family farm. And there was a trail. They came to a fork in the trails, and the longer trail went this way. The shortcut went this way. The one sister says to the other, let's go take the shortcut. The sister says, no, we're going to take this way. That's the way we came. That way we get a little bit more horseback riding. Well, the one girl says, well, me and my horse are going to take the shortcut. We'll see who gets there faster. Well, the 2 girls took the old route. This one girl takes the shortcut, and her horse have never been seen again.
Exactly.
So that's what makes me wonder if they walked into a portal. Because, look, kidnapping, and look, there's a lot of freaks out there. Let's not dumb down the subject. But kidnapping you're going to take the kid. You're not going to take the horse.
No.
And the horse vanished, no footprints, no nothing, just gone.
Right.
And it just really makes me believe that there's these portals, and I believe, in that other timeline, that this girl and the horse are back at the barn and meet up with the sister and friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And people talk about the Mandela effect as well too. It does seem as if there are different realities that do collide and mesh and pull apart from one another. And it does seem as if something else is going on, as if there is a bleed through. So whenever I think, so we're going to go right back to the very beginning. We talk about that veil between this world and the next is at its thinnest. For lack of better terminology, in the ancient world, that may describe what you and I have just been talking about. Whenever the veil between two worlds is at the thinnest, when things can cross between each ones. And maybe that does happen certain times of the year. And maybe Halloween is one of those times whenever it happens the most predominantly.
Never know. Guru, we got 90 seconds left, my friend.
Yes.
A show that has flown on by, as they always do. Your next date will be in December.
Yes.
With us, and I believe that's the 10th.
And we'll be talking about the ghost traditions of Halloween. How does that sound? Or of Christmas. Ghost traditions of Christmas.
That is beautiful. Yeah, that is December 10th, the next time you'll appear on the show. Guru, 1 minute, tell everybody where they can find your books.
All right, go to Amazon.com, or you can reach me, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. At yahoo.com is my personal email address in case you want me to sign something and send it out to you. But definitely Amazon. And anybody that's in Western Pennsylvania, not this Friday, but next Friday, so that'll be the 22nd, come out to see me at Hillview Manor. I will be doing a talk on the history of Halloween. And then I'm going to be filming for the Spirit Realm Network there as well, too. So you can come on out and get two for the price of one. Spend an evening with Ron Murphy. So, yeah, get my books on Amazon and see me at Hillview Manor October 22nd.
Guru, it's always a great time when we have Guru time on Spaced Out Radio, buddy. We really appreciate you, my friend.
Dave, I love you, and I love your audience. Thanks a lot for having me.
Always a pleasure. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, everyone. Remember, you can also follow him on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, at Crypto Guru Ron. Coming up next, the fedora-wearing John Hudson is going to join us for the Unbiased UFO Report, Shirky Poo's News, and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Oh, look at that puppy.
Oh, say hi, puppy. Say hi, Maui. Say hi, Maui. Say
Maui.
hi, buddy.
Maui.
You're a good boy. Okay, you can go back inside now. You can hang out? What are you going to do? You got to make a choice. Make a decision. All right, there you go. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, doing great.
Hey, Obi Flet, thank you. First time live for me. I meandered over from Spotify. Obi, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the chat room. Glad you're here. How's your mic, John?
Oh, good. Just making sure it doesn't fall over on me. That's all.
Yeah, no kidding.
But you know, it's actually run up by GoPro clips.
Really?
Basically, a whole string of those adjustable things you use for adjusting a GoPro. That's how my camera's connected. I mean, my mic's actually standing up.
Very cool. Very cool.
Oh, bugger.
What are we on here?
Hold on. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we got time, buddy.
Okay.
What do we got here? There we go. I love, what a great show. Going straight from the Guru to John Hudson. That's a great transition.
Yeah, that guy's fun. He's got a real nice polish to him.
Oh, the Guru is amazing. The Guru is absolutely amazing.
Need to get a chair with wheels.
Hello, gorgeous Jeanette. What's happening? Is that where Chad Smith has disappeared to? Because he hasn't been here for a few days.
Good for him.
Yeah, camping's fun. if you have a trailer. How long is this part of the show? 15 minutes, maybe 17. And then John rejoins me for the after show.
It's one of the things a lot of people don't realize about growing up in the Bay Area is that, we have the beautiful redwood forest just 45 minutes away up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. We got Tahoe 3.5 hours away. You got Napa 4 hours away. You got Carmel 2 hours away. I mean, it's amazing what you can hit up if you're willing to drive a little bit on the weekend.
Man, I would love to see the redwood forest.
Oh man, I've been through that tree. I mean, it's a sad thing that they did what they did to it, but there's this tree where they basically cut out the whole center of the redwood tree, and you drive right through it with your car. It's crazy.
That is insane. Absolutely insane. On Vancouver Island, they have an area that they call Cathedral Grove.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to drive that all the time when I coached hockey in Port Alberni.
Oh, nice.
And I'll tell you, when it was windy going through there, it was scary because they have signs: "Do not stop if it's windy."
Oh, right.
Because if one of those trees comes down and you stop, and it lands on you, you're dead. But I mean, the trees there. I mean, the one tree was like 35, 38 feet around.
Wow,
massive.
Well, and the thing that's so sad is that you go back 100 years, and the trees that they were cutting down in California,
same here.
They were so. I mean, they're almost like wives' tales. They were so big. I mean, just incredible size.
It was like
trees.
right out of fairy tales.
Yeah, I mean, just it was like like a bunch of giants grew them. I mean, just it's crazy.
Yeah. The problem with the trees, though, and I've got my neighbor who works in forestry. The problem with old trees like that is they are very susceptible to forest fire, and that is a big problem. I gotta get you to hold on 1 second here.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you everyone for the super chats: Abe, Spooky, Smithy, Brian, Carla, Reverend Keith, Swampy, and Nicola. It's a great way to support this show on a nightly basis. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning us in and all of our first-timers who are in our chat room. Really appreciate you coming on in. If you're new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. We'd really appreciate it. And, of course, all the regulars out there, we really do appreciate you being here. Don't forget, after the show, we will have the after show with John and I. Here we go, everyone. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. It is that time once again where we bring in the fedora-wearing John Hudson for the UFO Report. Yes, John has all the latest news on everything that is happening in the literal wild, wild west of the UFO world. And John, we really do appreciate you coming back in. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you everyone for sticking around. We do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Your fedora is looking fantastic as per usual.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we're going to kick things off. Robert Salas apparently got some money. Tell us who Robert Salas is.
Hey guys, we're using Poshmark and you should too. Do you have things that you don't wear anymore? Poshmark is seriously the easiest way to make room in your closet, make some cash, and also snag a bargain. It's the coolest reseller with the best brands like Lululemon, Nike, Reformation, and Gucci for up to 70% off. DJ Khaled has a closet and Serena Williams. Download the app today. Enter podcast 10 when you sign up for $10 off your first purchase on Poshmark.
Bad phone systems are bad for business. Poor clarity, lack of features, absolutely no support. Well, good news. Reliable VoIP does exist. VoIP from C Spire Business is a game-changing, stress-free communication system with crystal clear audio and premium features, all backed by our team of experts, available 24/7. Now that's VoIP. C Spire Business. Stay connected with powerful communication tools at cspire.com/business.
Yeah, so Robert Salas is a retired Air Force, and he's the person who was I don't remember exactly if he should be credited as the key person that was involved or if one of the key people, but he's very much responsible for bringing all of us all these wonderful stories, or scary stories, depending on how you look at it, of nuclear operators being in silos that were shut down throughout the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years in the U.S. military. So he's basically kind of a Pied Piper to the whistleblowers in a way.
Yeah, and didn't he work on one of those missile silos in North Dakota when this happened? And
Absolutely.
I believe it happened right around the same time when Grant Cameron had his Charlie Red Star sighting. Because that was close to the North Dakota border in Manitoba.
Could be. I thought Robert Salas's experience was in '67. I didn't think Grant's was that early, but
no, Grant's was in the '70s.
Yeah, okay, but it's definitely around the same time frame. And the thing is that, to be honest with you, I haven't studied this topic enough. This is another one of those rabbit holes that you eventually have to jump into that is a pretty deep dive. And so I don't know. My assumption has always been that there are pockets of activity that have happened over time, that it hasn't been this consistent thing the whole time. But to be honest with you, I don't know. I just know that to me, this is one of the most baffling aspects of this entire phenomenon, because, everything else you can argue about it. This is a national security issue, right? Of all things, this is something that people actually justifiably should be just a wee bit concerned about. And everyone's like, it's crazy. I don't get it.
I agree. So what's he got some cash for?
So basically, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, he was crowdfunding for another press event, like the one that was done a while ago, where he basically brings in, he invites as many former and sitting congressmen, congresspeople and senators as he can, and he gets as many very honorable service people as he can, usually retired, but occasionally not, to come in and tell their stories. And it's usually incredibly powerful testimony. Some of it's actually a little hard to listen to at times because it's very confusing. And but essentially, instead of basically bringing that old tape, of those proceedings, into the future and expecting people to be impacted by it, he wants to hold an entirely new event that will hopefully really make an impression and really stick out in people's minds, because in many ways, this should be one of the more important stories that everyone's talking about, and nobody's talking about it.
Very interesting. Do we know when the event is going to happen?
It'll be October 19th.
So that quick?
Yeah, it'll be October 19th. It's only in 4 days, so it's very shortly.
All right. Well, we will have to mind or pay attention to what's going on there, because that is going to be very, very important and good for him. Now, who is David Falch, and why is he important to what's going on right now?
Okay, so this is a really important. This is. I wish more people were talking about this. This is a really important lesson for all of us. So first off, Dave Falch. So very, very nice gentleman. He is a military FLIR camera technician repair person. Okay, so basically, when those pods, need to be fixed, he is the guy that takes them apart. Or I don't know if he still does it. I believe he still does, but he's the one that essentially repairs FLIR equipment. So he's incredibly knowledgeable about this FLIR gear. And so essentially he's been one of the key people for the last several months that has been debating back and forth with people like Mick West, trying to show how these videos that have been coming out don't necessarily mean what someone like Mick says they mean. And just like a week ago, which I sadly believe is the video that triggered the issue, I talked about a video that he'd put out that I linked, and I hope you all watched it because it's gone now and you're never going to see it again. This beautiful video he put out where he basically not only explained why the duck video was something important, but he showed what a Mylar balloon looks like under IR, what a normal balloon looks like under IR. He showed a bunch of examples of what different things look like in IR, and it was an incredibly valuable, for me anyway, it was a very valuable lesson, and I really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic video. I'm really sorry I didn't save it because evidently, and needless to say, he must maintain some, I don't know what level, but he has to maintain some sort of a clearance for the job he has. And somebody reached out to him and notified him that he needed to reformat his social media presence. And so without any warning whatsoever, he deleted every video he's ever made on the equipment. He completely just wiped out everything. And he's still on Twitter. He still has a YouTube page. He's still going to be putting out videos about the other things he used to put videos about. But basically every single thing that he's done to help us is gone. And there was a huge debate scheduled between him and Mick West and some other people that was scheduled for just a couple of days from now, and he won't be attending that.
It sounds like somebody at his job got to him.
Well, basically, this last video that he did, the reason why I loved it so much is because it gave a lot of information. It was a great video, right? I mean, it was beautiful. It showed you, he said, okay, this is what this is. Boom. This is what this is. Boom. I mean, I learned more about the way those cameras work in that video than I had in any of his other videos. It was like something you'd get out of product training from the company. And my guess is that, he'd already been kind of playing on a line this whole time, and my guess, and I this is just my guess, is that this last video, even though it was very tame, it was very polite, and it was very mellow, and it wasn't about weapons. I think it was just so informative that he was basically told, okay, now you've gotten to a point where foreign powers can be using this to defeat our technology, and so and in some cases, what happens is they get evidence that someone is actually slurping down that information. That happened to another person in the community that I won't name, is that they found out that people were actually watching his content for the purpose of intelligence gathering. And so the instant they find out that's going on, they're gonna tap you on the shoulder and say, okay, it's time to step back a bit. But the reason that's important is because it means that, there's a lot of people in this community that currently have jobs that require some level of clearance, and they're always walking the line to help us out, and we must appreciate them. And if you like their content, save a local copy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Never know when they might disappear.
A lot of these people are here for a good time, not a long time. But, that's not the first time I have heard of something like this happening on both fronts. Number one, I was told by somebody very high up and close to Luis Elizondo, who stated that UFO Twitter, literally everybody in the UFO game in Washington, D.C., and all the alphabet agencies have Twitter accounts just so they can follow UFO Twitter to see what everybody is talking about. I mean, it is filled with spooks now. And
the thing is that a lot of those people, it isn't for nefarious reasons in all cases. It's if they're actually working on this topic, it's a good place to gather information that they're going to learn from. But at the same time, if they see someone they know has a clearance talk about something they shouldn't, they're going to flag it.
Absolutely. Michael Schratt, the aviation historian, who's a good friend of this show, great guy, probably the best aviation researcher in North America, or at least one of the best. He was actually shut down for a while from doing interviews by his company as well, because he works for an aviation company, and they felt he was they didn't want one of their employees being popular for being in this UFO subject, and he had to pull the plug for a while. And, it's tough. It's hard, but when you work for a company whose main client is the United States military, they pay attention. They really do.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Yes, they do.
Let's move on to...
Oh, and so thank you, Dave Fouch, for all you did. We appreciate it. We understand what you did. It's all good. You're still welcome in this community. We appreciate what you did. No harm, no foul.
All right. First we had Tom DeLonge. Then we had Robbie Williams, but he didn't really make a UFO sting. Now we have Demi Lovato. But guess what, people? There's another pop star coming to the UFO world in 2022 on Discovery Plus. So if you're a fan of Kesha, she is someone who is going to be having a brand new UFO show on television on Discovery Plus. John, this just came down yesterday. I saw the post today. I guess here we go with the celebrities getting into the UFO game.
Yes, but this one has a small possibility of being a little bit different, because see, a lot of you might know Steve Greenstreet or Stephen Greenstreet, and the guy who does the Basement Office and so forth, and he's a good member of the community. Well, it turns out that he was on a show with UFO Jane the other day, who you've had on your show, Dave. And it turns out that they started talking about Keisha, and it turns out that Stephen's very good friends with her brother, and when she first started getting popular, they decided they were going to document her rise to power, her rise to fame. And so for 2 years, Stephen Greenstreet and his buddy followed her around the world with a camera crew and documented her. And so Stephen Greenstreet was like the cinematography guy, right? Well, they were traveling through Ohio, and they got to talking about UFOs, and it turns out that Keisha was a big UFO fan, and it dawned on her that they were right by Wright-Patterson, so she stops the bus and says, I don't care if we're going to be late, we're going. So they immediately call up a local MUFON rep to get him to meet him out there. They called the rep for the Air Force to arrange a tour. So the whole tour bus gets there. They all get out. Stephen Greenstreet's following, and he told this whole story on UFO Jane's channel. And he's following around the camera. And finally, at some point during the day, she got frustrated. And she's like, you guys aren't showing me anything. I want to, where are the aliens? I want to see the bodies, right? And there was these hangars over to the right that were in restricted area. She took off running. She just exit stage right and started booking it toward, took off away from everyone, runs across into this restricted area, right? Runs up to the hangar doors of this air and starts banging on the doors. Show me those aliens. I know you have those aliens, right? And so Steven's chasing her with the camera, thinking, oh great, we're all going to get shot, and he tells the story better than I did. Please watch UFO Jane show. And some short time later, some nice people in black vehicles with black outfits showed up with firearms, and Keisha very wisely noticed and said, well, it's probably a good time for us to exit, and they left peacefully. But that girl's got some fire in her. And I think this might be a different kind of UFO show. We'll have to see. But I have to say, based on the story I just heard, I'm a little bit curious.
I'm a little curious, too. You know what? Let's try it out. Let's try it out.
It'll be interesting.
Look, as this gets more popular, we may not agree with a lot of the famous people who are delving into this interest, and all of a sudden, because of their pull, television makes them UFO researchers with credibility, and I don't think that's good for our field. But I will say this: when people like Demi Lovato and now Kesha are out there really promoting the UFO game to their millions of followers on social media, that is good for the UFO field. We may not agree with the message. We may not agree with the person. We may not agree that when Demi comes out and says aliens shouldn't be called aliens because that makes them feel bad. Okay? It doesn't matter the reaction. Yes, some of it is cringeworthy, but we still have to remember, out of those social media followers, these famous influencers, and that's exactly what they are, have a lot of pull with their people. I look at my son. My son is 8 years old, John. And when he goes on YouTube, he asks me point blank, when we were driving to his guitar lesson the other night, he's like, Dad, is Metallica the biggest, best heavy metal band in the world? I said, well, they're one of the best, you know? And he goes, how many YouTube followers do they have? And I said, well, son, I really don't know. And he said, well, what about Guns N' Roses? How many YouTube followers do they have? Because my son's all about YouTube.
That's the only measure, right?
That's the only measure, right? But this is the way the younger generation is thinking.
Absolutely.
They're not thinking about, it's another, B-rated, C-rated. I mean, Kesha hasn't done anything in the music scene in a long time, so it doesn't surprise me, looking at the bigger picture, that this is a good way to get her name back out there. But, the younger crowd, they don't care. It's all about the influence of social media.
And actually, I think she just came out with a new album. I haven't checked this myself, but that's what UFO Jane said. So I think she did just come out with some new material. But you're right. Depending on where you are in your career, this might be a good deviation for people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Final topic tonight, because we are running a little bit late before we got to get to Shirky Poo's news. We got about a minute here, bud. 11 databases combined to form what?
One database to rule them all. So this is coming out of that new book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. I can't go into a lot of detail right now. I'll include it in my notes. But basically from this book, and our friend of the show, Thomas Fessler, basically covered this in his show today. So I include a screenshot of his show to show the database list. But what you get from the book is the list of all the databases, the 10 databases that went in. There's one more database missing, which is the account at Skinwalker Ranch of personal impact and personal injury and personal medical impact. That was not listed, but we know that's one of the 11 databases. And basically one of the outputs of OSAP was this massive database that had 11 shoved into it. And this database is still active, still online, and being used by the U.S. military.
Wow. John, stick around for the after show that we'll do on our YouTube channel. And let's get to Shirky Poo's news. Yeah, Shirky Poo has us all lined up tonight. We're going to start in the eastern part of Canada, Newfoundland, where a couple faced with the problem of moving their dream home from its former location to their property ended up taking the direct route through more than half a mile of water. Danielle Penny said she and her boyfriend Kirk discovered the house that Penny had long admired on the shore of the Bay of Islands Inlet was going to be torn down, so they received permission from the property owners to move the structure to their own coastal property in McIvers. The couple determined moving the house by land would be too difficult as there's way too many obstacles in the way, so they hatched a plan to float the house down the ocean through the Bay of Islands to its new location. How cool is that? All right, I don't know where Shirky Poo finds these. A German inventor's unique ultrasound testicle bath birth control device for men took the top prize at the country's James Dyson Awards. Rebecca Weiss, an industrial design graduate from the University of Munich and inventor of the COSO male birth control device, was named Germany's winner of the James Dyson Award, which celebrates, encourages, and inspires the designers of new problem-solving ideas. The COSO uses an ultrasound testicle bath to temporarily stop sperm mobility. The device only needs to be used every few months to keep sperm inert and prevent eggs from being fertilized during sex. Isn't that nice? Thank you, Shirky Poo. Actually, it's about time that happened, because it just is. Here's your thought of the day for today. What Halloween song are you sick of hearing year after year? I got to admit, it's Michael Jackson's Thriller. Can't stand it anymore. Greg, have a holly jolly Christmas... No, that's the wrong channel. Merle, spooky scary skeletons. Krista, none actually. Gail, I didn't know there were any Halloween songs. Cassie, none. I love them all. John, there isn't any that I know of besides The Nightmare Before Christmas. Tim, the Purple People Eater one. Jessica, my grandma used to sing, Here Comes Pumpkin Man. Bob, what friggin' Halloween song? Catherine, Baby Shark. Do-do-do-do. Oh, that's not really one, but... Aaron, love Halloween. It's different. Christmas songs can get the hell out of here, though. Let's see. Who else do we have? Monster Mash for Kimberly Jackshaw. Yeah, that one's getting old, too. And, who do we have on Twitter here? Thriller for Jules. None of them for Varla. Thank you to everybody in the Thought of the Day. Thank you, Shirky Poo, for the news. John Hudson for the UFO report. And the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, for leading us into Halloween. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, LGAB, Twitch, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, and on Twitter.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
Now that football season's here, it's time to put some serious thought into what you'll be ordering from Uber Eats. Whatever's on your game day menu this NFL season, Uber Eats has you covered. They'll deliver whatever you order quickly and just how you want it, so you can stay in the game. Tonight, I'll be eating Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Uber Eats is bringing you game day deals all season. Order now.
Bad phone systems are bad for business. Poor clarity, lack of features, absolutely no support. Well, good news. Reliable VoIP does exist. VoIP from C Spire Business is a game-changing, stress-free communication system with crystal clear audio and premium features, all backed by our team of experts, available 24/7. Now that's VoIP. C Spire Business. Stay connected with powerful communication tools at cspire.com/business.